partner. Good afternoon sa lahat ng mga nakatune in natin, mga participants from Samar, Cavite, Daet, Zamboanga, Aurora, Cagayan de Oro, all over the Philippines, partner, and our friends from Sydney, Dubai. Good afternoon. This is our 6th PFAE Kapihan. Would you imagine, partner, we're doing this already today for 2 months na.
Yeah, the 6th time. And I remember when we started sometime in, what was the date? The first
March
e-copy?
25.
March 25. And imagine that 2 months ago, we started this. And now we're counting few more days and it will already be June. And hopefully we're ready to shape up. Shape up so that we can move the business forward by maximizing profit and of course minimizing cost. And I'm so excited this afternoon and I'm sure you are. What makes you excited this afternoon, partner?
Well, we're all excited for what is going to unfold by June 1, partner. And sabi ko nga kanina, during breakfast, nagkikwentuhan kami ng mga anak ko. And we were talking about how busy the past weeks have been for all of us, especially for me, here in the household. And maganda, partner, yung sinasabi ngayon yung readings ko. Kasi sabi nga natin, why are we doing this? So we rise up when we lift others, partner. So
we rise up when we lift others. Beautiful.
Rise up when we lift others.
And
go
ahead.
Nakaka-excite, partner, because yun nga, how do we shape up now? How do we maximize revenue and minimize cost? Because nakakalungkot, syempre, maraming mga negosyo ang talagang cascading down and kailangan talaga ng matinding tulong ngayon, partner. So we're moving on.
And as usual, we have this afternoon, we have 3 brands to share with us their strategies. How are they doing it? How they are, their perspective of the situation and their plans, including their strategies that they have adopted and they intend to adopt further and beyond. And partner, I think we should start this afternoon with a beautiful prayer, which you normally would lead us into. Please do the honor.
Yes, partner. So let us put ourselves in the presence of the Lord. Heavenly Father, we thank you for gathering us in this online forum as we continue to navigate through the COVID-19 crisis towards recovery and renewed confidence. We lift up to you our leaders so that they will always work for what is good and what is just. We realize that despite the gradual reopening of our economy, the road ahead of us will still be bumpy and filled with twists and turns. Oh God, grant us the grace to go the distance described by the visions of our respective companies and agile enough to adjust to the changes that are happening around. Help us meet the challenges and seize the opportunities of the post-ECQ world so that we can continue to be powerful instruments in economic inclusion and nation building. All this we pray, trusting in your providence and mercy. Amen.
Amen. All right, beautiful prayer. And really, the intention is to shape up. You mentioned some shaping ups of twists and turns, and agility, of course, shapes up. But this afternoon, we'll be focusing on 2 magic words, revenue and cost. And what do we do to maximize the revenue, and what do we do to minimize cost? And allow me, partner, to introduce the mother of Philippine franchising, the chairman of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, a woman we love, a woman we respect so highly. And, when she speaks, it's like a mother talking to you and you're assured that everything's going to be okay. Please do the honor of calling our mother of Philippine franchising, partner.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Carl, for that
Yeah,
kind introduction. On behalf of the Philippine Franchise Association Board of Trustees and Officers, I would like to welcome you all to this afternoon's Ikapihan and wish everyone the best of health. To all our regular viewers, welcome back. To the first-time viewers, We're happy that you are with us today. Since the start of ECQ, PFA has been holding online forums for franchisors, franchisees, and entrepreneurs navigate and adapt to the challenges of this COVID-19 crisis. They say now we are on the road to recovery. And with this, we have many programs from the government, like the Bayanihan program, the stimulus program. Now we have the Sitira law, which is going to be created. And we are looking also forward to the PESA law, PESA program. So let me just highlight some of those that could help our members and the entrepreneurs. So for the Pillar 1, we have DTI through the Small Business Corporation, giving loans up to 500,000 to update your loan amortization, inventory replacement for damaged stocks, working capital to restart your business. It could go up to 500,000. But one thing for the Department of Agriculture, with their Sure Aid program, and many of our members, because they are in food, can probably avail of this. They have the emergency situation for micro and small enterprise. They may avail of a maximum loan of 10 million, 0 interest, payable in 5 years. Then the DOF will also award credit guarantee on small business to give them easier access to bank financing. Then the DOF, together with BIR, also proposed that NOLCO, which is the net operating loss carryover period, from 3 years to 5 years. So knowing this, we can see that they're really helping us to on the road to recovery, and we should progress with this. I'm sure this afternoon we're so excited to listen to Mr. Reyes, to Steve, our old friend Steve, John Lu, Bea, and from BPI, we have Noel. And I'm sure we have so many other ways of maximizing our revenues and minimizing the cost. So let's all be attentive to them, because these are, you don't read this anywhere. And I would like to quote Miss Linda Rottenberg of, she's the US entrepreneur and author, that says, when economy is down, entrepreneurs go up. And I really believe in this, because we've had several crises and we have converted them to opportunities. You know, this is the time for franchising to grow. As Mr. Sami Lim, the father of Philippine franchising, said, this is the 2021 to 2025 is the golden age of franchising. So let us go in this together, knowing that there are many opportunities for us, because there are many overseas Filipinos that are coming home. There are many retrenched or retired, and they're looking for a business. And we were able to partake of this. Let us remember, in 2008, when there was the financial crisis in the United States, that was the time they kept looking for a potato corner for Joe Magsaysay. And what did Joe say at the time? When he went to the US and talked to the consultants, they told him, oh no, no way for French fries in the US. French fries are only free. But I told him, there is so much opportunity there, because many of the franchises there are so big and they need your brand. And look at where he is now. So together, let us look for all these opportunities. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Bing Limhoco. Talagang motherly. Yeah, and a special shout out to the father of Philippine franchising, Mr. Sammy Lim, who last kapihan said, during the best times, the franchising is good, but during the bad times, franchising is even better. And of course, we agree with that, partner Cheryl.
Yes. Yes, partner. And
yeah. Anyway.
at saka, partner, gusto ko lang din magpasalamat sa iyo, no? This is our 6th e-kapihan in behalf of the Board of Trustees of the Philippine Franchise Association. Maraming salamat, Dr. Carl Balita, in spite of your busy schedule. And we've leveled up this e-kapihan from the start. Natatandaan mo pa yung first session natin, no? March 25, wherein kami nila Faron Cafe ang nasa panel, and then every time we've grown bigger, and a lot of learnings already we've shared to our participants and to our entrepreneur friends, as well, of course, with our PFA members, partner.
Partner, allow me to share with the participants the journey through the e-kapihan that started in March 2026, was it?
25.
25, rather. So just for historical perspective, just to tell everybody and to prove to everyone that this is a well thought of activities which is in a continuum, because pinag-iisipan naman talaga ng ating board at ng committee, of course headed by Chris Lim, no? And our executive director and our, everyone in the secretariat. It all started navigating through the COVID disruptions. At that time, parang we were fresh from the quarantine. We're not yet comfortable with it. But at that time, we were already biased for the small, medium, and micro enterprises, of course. And at the time, we were just looking at two major pillars: the logistics and people management, inventory and process management. Of course, wanting to be significant as franchisor to support our franchisees, and wanting to find the purpose above the cash flow. Then we defined 3 timelines, and it's really a genius behind defining it as now, then, and beyond. Then after that, of course, time went on and we moved on, and that's when we defined to be a resilient enterprise. And for that to happen, to be able to achieve that status as a resilient enterprise, we should be able to, to go with the wave of the new normal. And then recovery is what Ma'am Bing Limhoco already mentioned today. But the new normal continues to be in our midst, and that's why the resilient enterprise will have to go with that. And today, for the interest of our participants, we are now talking about shaping up. And there are 2 agenda for today. First is the maximization of revenue and the minimization of cost. So this e-kapihan has been a journey with our suke na participants. Numbering now, we're almost 900, and there are hundreds others in our free Facebook Live ongoing in the PFA Facebook account. In case, by the way, that some of the participants would have friends who may not be able to enter the Zoom space, please tell them to watch us in Facebook Live. Okay, so I would like to congratulate PFA for really making a big difference in the learning opportunities we have even when we're quarantined at home. Okay, and today, partner, you know personally these guests that we have, no?
Of course, partner. So we move on already to our resource speaker partner for today.
Mm-hmm.
And ano tayo, kasi ang dami nating learnings from these top brands that we will be that are joining us this afternoon. So first is that our resource speaker is the head of research and consultancy of JLL Philippines, and is responsible for driving the thought leadership initiatives and developing the consultancy business of the Philippine office. He has collaborated with major and boutique conglomerates and institutions where he provided general and bespoke consultancy and advisory, project development, strategy development, financial and portfolio analysis, property valuation, and general business management work, among others. Our speaker has over 10 years of extensive experience across different property sectors, as well as tangent industries and services such as infrastructure and master plan development. He has worked with major corporate brands such as Ayala Land, China Fortune Land Development, Double Dragon, Mitsubishi Corporation, and SM, amongst others. An economics graduate of the University of Asia and the Pacific, our speaker is a licensed appraiser and broker. Ladies and gentlemen, please let us welcome our distinguished speaker, Mr. John Lo de los Reyes. Good afternoon, John Lo.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for that introduction, Cheryl. And thank you again to the PFA for inviting me to speak at this event. Hello everyone, I'm John Lo de los Reyes from JLL. And this afternoon, I'll be sharing our views about the next normal for the Philippine retail sector. And specifically, I'll be talking about three things. I'll just wait for the slide to load. So in the next slide, I'll be sharing with you the agenda for this afternoon. I'll be talking about three things. Number one is to give you a brief overview of the regional landscape, specifically in the Asia-Pacific region. So what's been happening in other markets that are facing this current pandemic, what's happening there in terms of the retail space, and how are the different stakeholders responding to this kind of situation. The second one is I'll be talking about some of the key trends that we think will shape the next normal for Philippine retail. And I'll be spending a lot of time on that slide in that section. And then just to close the presentation, I'll also be sharing with you some of my final thoughts with regard to the current COVID-19 situation. So if we're gonna look at the next slide, so we've seen how the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted the social and economic landscape across the globe. And this has really impacted everyone in an unprecedented scale and speed. And I just wanted to share with you some of the narratives, at least common narratives that we are seeing from the region. And that's going to be shown in the next slide. As you can see here, we've probably given a few updates on what has happened, what has transpired in the different markets in Asia Pacific in the past couple of months. And there are some shared narratives across the different markets. Number one, we've seen that a lot of markets are currently under quarantine and lockdown, although there are different situations across the different markets. Some have already have partial lifting of their lockdown. Some are still in the midst of the lockdown. And generally, there's been an strict observance of the social distancing measures that are being implemented across the globe. So that means the social distancing, the physical space, and definitely the heightened sanitation and frequency of the sanitation of different retail premises across different markets. You've also seen how different markets are experiencing the lower footfall in a lot of their retail developments. And Shibuya in Japan, for example, they've reported a drop of around 80 to 90% footfall compared to previous year due to this pandemic. We've also seen a lot of retailers experiencing lower sales. And there's a lot of anecdotal data around it that points that a lot of these retailers are struggling given the elevated risks that everyone is facing due to the tighter cash flow. There's no catchment or market for their buyers. At the same time, there's also facing a lot of loan pre-commitments also. At the same time, we've seen how governments and even the landlords are extending help to a lot of retailers and ensuring that they're able to provide relief to all of their retailers. And this comes in the form of rent reliefs and also policy stimulus just to help support the small to medium enterprises. I think one interesting trend that we're seeing across the market is that there's an accelerated trend of online shopping. And that's even present in very mature markets such as Australia, which currently reports around 99% of online penetration rate for online shopping. And that's basically what has been existing before. But due to the pandemic, what has happened is that it has accelerated that trend in the retail space, much like what is happening now in the Philippines. And as you would see in the next slide also, the specific impact of COVID-19 with regard to the rentals of a lot of landlords. And if you're going to look at it, it's really going down across the different markets, and that's compared to previous years. And that really speaks to the current situation in the retail sector, that it's not being just felt in, let's say, in the Philippines, but actually across the Asia Pacific region. And that's even for the most mature markets, as what you could see in Hong Kong, in Sydney, in Guangzhou, in China. So everyone is being affected, and a lot of rental decline are being experienced in different markets. Definitely, there's a lot of unevenness also with regard to rental performance, and we may see this also happening in the next couple of months, again, depending on what will happen in the following weeks with regard to policies and the behavior of the market. And in the Philippines, we are not exempted from this. We've seen how some of the key indicators for retail is really weighing down on the sector. We've seen how the community quarantine is impacting the performance of shopping malls and retailers alike. At the same time, if you've seen the recent economic update, our Q1 2020 GDP was only at around negative 0.2 growth. And that's basically the first time in, I think, 2 decades that we have registered negative growth for the Philippines. At the same time, the pillar of our spending, such as the OF remittances, are down because of the layoffs and repatriation across the globe. Current projections show that the growth rate for OF remittances will decline to around 0.5% by end 2020. At the same time, household consumption is also expected to go down by end 2020 and registering at a growth of 0.8%. And in the next slide, I'm going to talk to you about like what's the impact specifically on the Philippines with regard to what is currently happening and what we think will shape the retail narrative for the Philippines moving forward. And in the next slide, I'll share with you a table that shows you the different trends and how is that impacting both the consumer and retailers alike. And if you're going to notice, some of these key trends that I'm presenting to you now are have some commonalities with regard to their themes, and they're going to run through and overlap to other elements. So the first one is social. It's more of the social etiquette.
Janlo, can I disturb you for a while? Can you, I know you're soft-spoken as we have in the dry run yesterday. Can you project the voice a little louder?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's clear though, but you know, we want to
better.
really appreciate. Yeah, that's better. Please,
Okay, there. Sorry about that. I guess here. So the first one is really more about the new social etiquette that everyone is seeing. And for the consumers, what we'll be seeing is that they'll be adhering to the new social norms. And we're talking about the physical distancing that's being observed and maintaining that personal space. So again, the distance between people and individuals as they go about their business in the Philippines. There's also heightened focus on cleanliness and safety, and that's being particularly the common theme that surrounds everyone during this pandemic. There's also a lot of compliance with regard to national and local directives as well as guidelines that people will be observing. And what does that mean for retailers? It means that there's a need for us to incorporate the new social etiquettes in terms of the customer experience and journey. So before, the customer journey was people see the brand, they enter the store, they shopped or they dine there or whatever they need to do and exit the store. And that's basically the entire customer experience. But now you also have to think about the online experience and the delivery experience. So the question that we are now asking ourselves is, how do we maintain and create a pleasant customer experience for our guests in both the online and offline space? How do we keep it personal without compromising personal space and observing all of these social distancing measures that are being implemented across the globe? And one of the things that we can do is really ensuring that there's seamless journey that is underpinned by safety. And what we mean by that is minimizing the touch points between employees and their customers. And that entails, for example, the maintaining the contactless transactions that are being implemented or rolled out currently by different vendors. We think that brick and mortar stores will remain relevant, but definitely the store experience will be vastly different from what we are accustomed to in the past couple of years. So we are expecting redesigned store layouts and processes that minimizes or hopefully enhances the customer experience. And it's also a question of like, how do we recalibrate our spaces, our premises, such that these protective or new barriers, store circulation or the shared areas, the dressing rooms, waiting areas, and the frequency of sanitation does not diminish the customer journey or the customer experience. Because at the end of the day, what has happened in the retail sector is that it has become an experiential industry. So it's not just the food, it's not just the shopping, but it's also the experience around the entire thing. Not only in the offline space, meaning the physical store, but also in the online space as well. The second trend that we are looking at is really the focus on health and wellness. And for a lot of consumers, I think a lot of us are becoming much more health and wellness conscious. And that means an increased population that will be into healthier lifestyle. And that means eating healthy and living healthy through exercise and wellness practices. So for retailers, what we can expect under the next normal is that there will be greater emphasis for activity from retailers within that are offering these types of products and services. So we're talking about medicines and supplements and even alternatives, healthy, sustainable, and organic food, niche products or ingredients such as vegan food and the like. We're also seeing probably workout equipment and machines that may experience uptick in terms of their sales. At the same time, you may see more gym memberships following the recovery from this pandemic. So those are the things that we might see as we move towards a customer that is much more focused on their health and well-being moving forward. In terms of branding, if we're going to look at the Filipino consumer now, and I think across the globe, what we have is a very globally connected and socially aware individual. And as everyone knows, us Filipinos are heavy users of the internet. And one of the key things that if you find some of the research out there, the estimate is around 97% of us are actually spending a lot of time on our mobile devices surfing the internet and doing online shopping as well. And given this pandemic has put everyone at their respective homes, there's a lot of increase in activity in social media due to the additional free time that everyone has at the moment. And given that this pandemic is a shared experience, not only here in the Philippines, but across the globe, and when you combine that with the social media activity by different individuals, people are very up to date or very knowledgeable about what brands are doing during this pandemic. And what that means for retailers is there's a need to maintain or sustain the efforts that embody or keep us true to our company's values. And what I mean by that is before us retailers or retailers are all about making things Instagrammable. Does the food look nice? Does the place look good? But now it's more about what kind of stories are we telling people during this pandemic. And we've seen a lot of retailers and even landlords, developers that are becoming much more socially active and really telling the story of how they're helping their communities during this pandemic. And all of these have ripple effects in social media, and these resonate well with consumers. And it does enable retailers to remain connected to their catchment and their market during this difficult time. I think this is quite an important thing that it's not only what we're doing, it's also what we're trying to avoid. It's really becoming much more careful about our social image and how are we really living up to the commitment or the promise that we have committed to our stakeholders. And that includes vendors, stakeholders, and also our customers. Then for the next slide, if you're going to look at that slide, the other key trend that I want to talk to you about is also about the new buying behaviors that we are seeing in the market. So currently, what we are expecting is a weaker consumer confidence following this pandemic, and the reason behind that is that we do think that a lot of households are facing tighter cash flow, so there might be an increase in their savings as they want to preserve their wealth to serve as buffer during this uncertain time. At the same time, we may expect consumers to have a mindful discretionary spending, and that will only be limited to essentials such as food, healthcare, loan repayments, utilities, and the like. Second main point under this one is that health and safety will underpin buying behavior. And that means there will be limited travel to basically the neighborhood centers or neighborhood shopping malls for a lot of households. And that this will be supplemented by online shopping. And if you're going to notice, and I think much like everyone, a lot of Filipinos now, most households are turning to online shopping to supplement their physical shopping due to the long queues and also that a lot of items that are in the physical stores are currently out of stock. And the only way for them to source those items or products is by looking at online resellers. And lastly, there's also the situation wherein the brand loyalty of a lot of consumers are being tested. And brand loyalty now is being replaced by access to the product and affordability. And the reason behind that is, again, we go back to the earlier point about households really forced to adopt given their tighter resources. And at the same time, it's really out of necessity that they need to procure some of the items which are not available from their usual vendors. And just to discuss basically how is this impacting retailers, number one, there's going to be a refocus on the domestic market. For some retailers, they're quite reliant on the foreign market, but given the current pandemic, we're expecting a decline in international and tourist arrivals. Last year, the number of tourist arrivals in the Philippines was at 8 million, but by 2020, the new projection is at around 6 million. So that's going to certainly impact the appetite from a lot of travelers, foreign travelers moving to the Philippines and taking up consumption for the different goods and services that we have here. And that's the reason why we think that the domestic market will be the one propping up the local market in the short to medium term, especially for retailers. And the question now for a lot of retailers is, how do we promote or encourage confidence for a lot of our consumers to spend, go out and buy these products and services, given this very challenging environment of tight cash flow and very uncertain period of time wherein they may need cash in the following months or following weeks. So number one, it's really more of a revisit of product and service offerings and to make them number one, safe, accessible, and affordable. And again, we go back to safety as being the primary or main reason that will be the overarching theme for a lot of the services and products that we will be offering to our consumers. At the same time, and what we are currently seeing is a lot of to-go or takeaway offerings or areas, curbside pickups for malls also. And for retailers, what we may find, especially if we move in the future, is that retail spaces may now incorporate to-go or takeaway areas. This is something that is not quite prevalent here in the Philippines, but quite popular in other parts of the globe. And I think that will help, number one, not only address the density or at least the propensity of people who are less likely to dine out, but it's also a way to also manage the volume of your orders. So you have the diners, and also at the same time, you can also target your to-go or takeaway customers. One important question with regard to the takeaways, especially now that everyone is doing this, having Lalamove, Food Panda, Grab also deliver your food, is particularly for the F&B sector, is how does your food travel? Does it travel well? And meaning to say, you have to think about how will your food look like, let's say after 10-minute drive, 15-minute delivery, 20-minute delivery, 30-minute delivery. Does it still look good? Does it still taste good by the end of that time, as soon as it reaches its customer? And then for non-F&B retailers, it's more of adopting click and collect services. And that's what we've seen in a lot of pop-up stores in Lazada and the like. And I think that's something that a lot of non-food retailers will be implementing as part of their strategies moving forward. Under this also of revisiting product and service offerings is a need for us to introduce new products and services at affordable price points. And this may mean new menu, new products, items, and services. And again, this all echoing the sentiment of a much tighter cash spending by a lot of households. And at the same time, if you're going to look at a lot of the players now, I think there's also struggle or constraints with regard to inventory, and they're quite there's also a need for them to pivot in terms of like how do we maximize the current inventory that we have that is able to sell well, during this pandemic. And that's one of the things that a lot of retailers can do. The third point answers the brand loyalty question. And because of the weak brand loyalty that we are currently facing, it's really important to build confidence loyalty instead. And that is through providing dependable service. And what that means is that we need to ensure that there's safety and security for consumers who are ordering our food or our services and products. And that means do we ensure that our riders, or for example, our products are prepared according to the health and sanitation guidelines? Do we have a proper return and exchange policy, and how do we manage to clean that, especially as it gets delivered and picked up from different households? But more importantly, now that there's a limited inventory for specific products, particularly essentials, it is important that as retailers that we make sure that the essential items or the highest selling items or the fast moving items and products are always in stock. And this means that it will help drive repeat customers because they know that that these retailers already always have these items that I need, and I can make sure that I depend on them for future transactions. And I guess part of that also is, how's your logistics network? And do you deliver in a timely manner and as promised? And I think having the available inventory is half of the battle. The second half is, how soon can your consumers get their orders? And if it's going to take them 2 weeks or 3 weeks, then if they find an alternative that can deliver that at a shorter amount of time, then you're basically losing out your customer. And that's the important thing about moving to the online space also, is you have to have that logistics capability to be able to support that strategy. And then lastly, it's all about technology adoption. And for a lot of households, I think we've seen the greater acceptance and wider use of online platforms for shopping and to conduct all of our transactions on a day-to-day basis. And definitely there is a bit of reversion maybe of habit once this pandemic subsides. But we think that by and large, that there will be a much greater number of households and individuals who will be retaining their habit of like using these platforms and processes for their shopping and day-to-day transactions. For retailers, it's really more about innovation and incorporation of technology in their business. And I think one of the major things that happened or is currently happening during this pandemic is that it has accelerated technology adoption across retailers. And some of the key realization across the different stakeholders are, number one, that it is actually feasible to incorporate technology within our own businesses and processes. Second of all, that being innovative or or employing technology, they need not to be expensive. So I think one of the common misconceptions about technology is that it has to be expensive, it has to have all of the bells and whistles. But if you think about it, sometimes the best solutions are not necessarily those that have all of these functionality, but basically the ones that are able to optimize or address your pain points without really hurting your pockets. And that's the important thing. And I think one of the key things for a lot of retailers is that they've realized that not leveraging on technology is actually much more expensive than launching them, because they've seen now that they were not ready for this work from home arrangement, for this kind of pandemic, that they're struggling now how to adapt to this new market. How do they tap them now, given that they're just reliant, for example, on physical stores, and they don't have really the technology capability or even the platforms that will enable them to streamline their internal operations or even help them connect with their clients. And I think one caveat here is that you might ask, John, no, but we don't have the resources or capability to do so. And agree that companies would have a different path or journey towards their technology adoption. But again, I go back to my point about being innovative and implementing technology or incorporating technology within your business need not be expensive. It's really more of looking at your process and looking at the pain points and finding ways to deploy, let's say, capital if you need to spend on those particular pain points and help you recover those from your potential benefit or from the potential sale that you may generate from that investment. at the same time, there will definitely be similar to the consumers that some retailers will be reverting back to old practices also. But nonetheless, what we're thinking or what we are our view for the future is that more retailers will be much more open and will be embracing technology in their businesses moving forward. And that's what we're currently seeing now with a lot of the development of omni-channels by retailers. And this is their way to expand their reach and extend their catchment. And that's by offering also the malls, offering their delivery service and the like. And even despite the rise of omni-channels, we do think that brick and mortar would play a pivotal role in this in terms of driving omni-channel strategy. And one of the ways to do that is by doing pop-up stores in neighborhoods. That may be a way to introduce or to nudge your offline customers towards your omni-channel or your digital or online platform. And at the same time, this is a way for you to also minimize your costs because as opposed to like say the inline stores that require heavy capex, at least the pop-up stores can help you to become much more mobile and agile in setting up in different parts of the country. So these are just some of the key trends that you're seeing in the market. And I'd like to close my presentation with the last slide. I just want to share with you some of my final thoughts on this. So there's just basically three things that I wanted to share with you. Number one, there is a shared struggle across retailers at the global and local level, as you've seen in the first slide. That means you are not alone in this. Everyone is feeling the pain at some degree, and this is why these forums are very important to us because this enables us and a lot of stakeholders to share and learn best practices from one another on how to cope with this pandemic. And something related to that is, given the shared experience, definitely there's a need for a joint effort across all retail stakeholders. And we're talking about the government, landlords, retailers, vendors, and even customers to find a way to get through this. And like what Bing mentioned earlier in her speech is about how the government is introducing new policies to really help and support the enterprises during this difficult time. And at the same time, we do think that the government may relax a lot of policies and revisit some of them to ensure that there's economic activity or that there's business generated for a lot of retailers moving forward. For the landlords, retailers, vendors, and customers, it's really more of a need for a continuous partnership and explore ways how to drive value and find win-win solutions for everyone. And then lastly, there is a need for us to continuously adapt to the next normal. And you might notice that I've been using the term next normal as opposed to the new normal. And the reason behind that is because of this fluid environment that we are currently in. So a lot of the new normal that we're currently talking now, this afternoon might be replaced by a new normal again next week, a new normal week after next, a new normal by next month. And that's the reason why we felt it's more apt to call it the next normal. And because I think it's going to take a while before we settle down under the new normal. And that's maybe when we found a vaccine for this pandemic. And that's why we need to keep vigil to ensure that we are ready at any time to pivot and adjust our strategies accordingly, given that the developments in the market are ever changing and that the setting is very fluid, that the changes that are happening now may not be relevant anymore in the next week or the next couple of days. And it's really important for us as retailers to remain resilient during this pandemic. With that, thank you for listening. Good afternoon and stay safe.
Thank you very much, John Lo. John Lo is pronounced, well, John Lo, later on it's going to be John Lu. So yeah, we have same sounding, two names of the same sound. Partner, before our thoughts on the presentation, let me give some administrative suggestions, please. First of all, if you have some valid questions, some worthwhile questions, please put it in the Q&A chat box that you can find in your screen. May I also remind everyone that this is not, we're not in Facebook, okay? I have been seeing when John Lo was lecturing that there were so many opinions already coming in, so many conversations, so many chats and discussion. That's okay. However, that can be very destructive for others. Please, I suggest minimize, if you may, please minimize the chat because it's distracting others in the process. And finally, for those who are asking presentations, the new normal is that you screenshot the slide, and you don't have to nag on the secretariat or give additional tasks on the secretariat to send you a photocopy or whatever, an email of the presentation. Because if you know how to use technology enough, then all you have to do is to have a screenshot of the slide, and you will be able to get the slide the way you see it. And please don't anymore ask for the summary, because just listen and summarize. The problem is you're too busy chatting. That's why you want the summary instead. Thank you so much. If you have some questions, please put it in the Q&A. But I can also, I have to tell you, by the way, that you have to identify yourselves so that the questions will be asked, because we don't answer questions from anonymous. That the thing really is, it's distracting. The chat room is so destructive, distracting others who are attentively listening to the conversation. Cheryl, what did you pick up from that John Law's presentation?
Yes, essentially, partner. Well, for the participants, as a good reminder, no, everyone is getting excited, but yun nga, time is a great resource, and we should be focusing, listening to our esteemed speakers. Now, my takeaway agad, partner, is I like this because this is part of my postings also, that brick and mortar stores are here to stay, and omni-channels are here to stay. It's not really full migration for everybody, but we might be really itching our way to go back to our dining experience. But the entrepreneurs in the restaurant industry will have to adapt, innovate the dining experience for their customers in adaptation to the long-term behavior and habits that are evolving and changing for our customers.
Yeah, and thank you. You know that the DTI and the DOLE are now coming up with some protocols, no? That was already topic of the webinar of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce, which being led the other day. And for the information of the restaurants, the salon, the barber shops, and other industries, according to them, there's going to be some health protocols that they will come up with, the minimum standards. Of course, you can innovate beyond it, but they will be prescribing it so that, we can bring that confidence of the paranoid customers, and the loyalty can be regained back. I'd like to emphasize, partner, for the interest of summarization, focus on health and wellness. Okay, focus on health and wellness is one trend that John Lo mentioned. Second is the new social etiquette. And the third is the focus on branding. Partner, cheers muna tayo, because this is kapihan. So everybody should be raising their cup of coffee. And I'm raising mine. Are you raising your cup of coffee?
Yes.
Yeah, and look at my cup. Hindi po ako galit, ha? Hindi ako galit kung sinabi ko yon. It's just that the other persons also in the chat room are also expressing their disappointment for so much conversations happening there. Mamaya na tayo magkwentuhan, don't worry. I'll allow you. I will not close the Zoom. After this, tsaka tayo magkwentuhan. Okay, Q&A, okay. We're waiting. Please send in your question. And partner, the next, our first panelist, please. We're excited.
Yes, we're all excited to hear from our first panelist, who is an AB Management Economics graduate of the Ateneo de Manila University. He completed an EO Entrepreneurial Master's program at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and took up executive education programs in London Business School and Wharton School of Business. He has over 25 years of professional and entrepreneurial track record of ensuring the growth of Bo's Coffee, the Philippines' biggest homegrown coffee chain with over 100 stores nationwide and 7 stores in Qatar. Our panelist has a cross-functional specialization in economics, marketing, business development, law, and executive development, with a strong emphasis on entrepreneurship. Ladies and gentlemen, let us give a big hand to the founder and chief executive of Bo's Coffee, believing that yes, the Filipino brand can, Mr. Steve Benitez. Hi, Steve. Good afternoon. You're on mute,
No.
Steve.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we're turning it on. All right. Yes. Steve. Oops. Connection error. Wait, huh? Okay, we're unmuting, but it doesn't work. Wait for a while. Let's have muna coffee. Steve, you can see me. Yeah, there. There you have it.
Can you hear me?
Yes, good afternoon, Steve. Maybe you can,
Okay.
we can barely hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but very,
Yeah.
low yung voice.
Okay, Steve, can. Oops.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, barely, Steve.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me see.
So
How about this?
Yes.
that's good. All right, Steve, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Carl, and thank you, Cheryl, and thank you to the PFA. Richard called me up, and I couldn't say no to him. So these PFA ECAPians are very important because even us as leaders of our own organization have to learn from each other, and it's really nice to hear others speak and from other industries speak, and we can learn from them. So let me share with you my screen. Tell me if you can see it. Okay. Can you see it?
Yes, clear enough. Yes.
Right. So I was asked to share our own company's strategies moving forward. So when this happened, when COVID started to happen around February or March, we didn't really expect that it was gonna be the impact is gonna be this big in the Philippines. So when the government decided to shut down or to do shutdown or lockdown, within 2 days, we had to close all our stores in Metro Manila. So, so we did, and in April, 2 weeks after, we also had to shut down all our stores in the provinces. So for 2 months, or a month and a half, we only had 98% of our stores open, and 2% were really just doing delivery and pickup. Now, coming into this year, 2020, we were very bullish. I personally think that 2020 was going to be a banner year where we would perform very well, and actually we did. The first 2 months were double-digit growth. We also opened 5 stores as targeted, but when the shutdown happened, all our gains in the 2.5 months could be wiped out in just 1 month. Right? So it was something that we were not really prepared. But at the same time, we have to make a quick action to address the matter at hand. So within a few days, I came up with this management strategy plan. I wrote recovery and shared it with my team. And I'd like to share it here with you as well. And the latter part will talk about what we will do post-COVID. So, in our organizations called entrepreneurial organization, we're always inspired by this saying, smooth sea never, develop a skilled sailor. So I'd just like to share that. And I know that out of this crisis, all of us business leaders will come out a better leader. So Bo's Coffee, for those who don't know, has over stores. I said we opened 5 stores just early this year, and we have presence in Doha, Qatar now. So we're present in the South. We get some of our stores. I came up with the plan. We call it the Business Recovery Plan, Journey Back to Normalcy. But this is really a very delicate balance between the impact to our business and the impact to our people. The goal here was really to have soft landing, to avoid any damage to our company and to our people. So we need to balance our resources, that meant cash. We had to stretch it out as far as possible as we can. We also had to give provisions to our employees and taking care of their basic needs while this crisis is around. And at the same time, we also had to plan rebuilding the business even while we were in the middle of this crisis. And we had to really consider the new normal, as we consider this new normal. And eventually our goal is to take flight beyond the crisis. When I was making this plan, it was a 60-day plan, 15, 30, 45-day plan. But as the lockdown continued longer, we had to iterate the plan. So the plan has 4 P's. I can't, never mind. So the first P is called protect. The second B is preserve. The fourth is prepare. And the fifth is pivot. So let me just go through this very briefly. Protect in our case meant we need to protect our people and we need to protect our assets. In this case, immediately we had to protect our cash. So when I had this playbook had a two-dimensional playbook. It's a defense and offense. And the first part of the playbook, which I will be talking to you about, are mostly defense. Defend the cash, defend the people. What does it mean? It meant that we need to protect the safety of our people. That was the priority. We need to provide for our people during the crisis. So we gave out full salary for March and some of them in April. And beyond that, we had to give allowances on a monthly basis just to provide basic provisions of our employees. What does protect cash mean? Protect cash means that we had to control the outflow of cash very carefully, because in any business, cash is the lifeblood. And if you run out of cash, you run out of blood and you die. So we need to really immediately clamp down on cash. We came out with a 90-day cash flow forecast analysis. But as time went by, we adjusted that to monthly analysis. And now I'm doing a weekly analysis of our cash flow, depending on the performances of the stores that we have already opened. So things really we iterate as quickly as we can to be able to preserve cash and protect cash. So, the more if you really want to understand your business, you have to understand your cash flow forecast. That's one of the tips I'd like to give some upstart businesses here. Second is preserve. Preserve people and preserve assets as well. Preserve, in our case here, sometime in April, I started considering how can we preserve the jobs of our people. As much as we can, we don't want to cut jobs. If this ended in April, most probably we wouldn't cut any jobs. So that was our target at that time. But the toughest decision for a CEO or a business owner is when you start talking about cutting jobs. We understand it's very difficult now. People are having a hard time. But at the same time, as business owner entrepreneurs, we need to balance the survival of your business and the welfare of your people. So to save the majority of the jobs, we have to sacrifice a few. And that was a very, very difficult time and decision-making time. We also had to preserve our assets because we're looking forward to reopening as soon as possible. And we had to make sure that our assets are in order. First, we had decided not to have any CAPEX spend. All CAPEX expansion this year has been suspended. And we also had to manage our inventory, which were about to expire because we closed stores. So we made sure that these things don't go to waste. And one of the things we did was we donated most of these food to the frontliners. And we also were able to be part of our organization's frontline feeding program, which gave out almost 70,000 meals. So and the other thing we did was we talked to all the stakeholders, our employees, our suppliers, our landlords, our franchisees, and our shareholders. So we needed to collaborate and participate in each other's survival, business, and continuity plan. So this is a teamwork. This is not just our plan. And finally, we also prepared the reopening of the businesses. Just to share it to everybody, when we were planning to reopen the business, we categorized the stores into 3 boxes. One is which stores will open immediately, which stores we will delay and observe, and which stores we will not open at all. So for those that we reopened, surprisingly, well, it's not surprisingly, average the sales would be 30% of pre-COVID, but there will be 2 outliers where 2 stores actually went beyond 100 and 120% from pre-COVID. That was a big surprise to me and our team as well. But I think the most common reason behind that is what class of market does that mall cater to? So people ask me if, what's the effect of all of this new normal. For me personally, the AB market will stay at home and will avoid the malls, but the CBD will continue to go out. And that's because of the circumstances. And we also set forth our sanitary protocols. And the last P is pivot. Our battle cry for pivot is be nimble, be agile, be flexible. And the question we always ask ourselves, what can we do more with what we have? What can we do more with what we have? And so I came up with 3 R's to answer those questions. Number 1 is reimagine. Reimagine our brand. So how can we make our brand available to more people even if our stores are closed? Originally, coffee shops were mostly dine-in because it's where people gather, it's a social place, people hang out. But now, and before, I wouldn't even think about serving coffee and delivering coffee, because coffee is best consumed when it's fresh out of brew. It's fresh out of machine. So if you deliver this or you come up with something that's beyond this freshness level, I couldn't even imagine. So, but when this happened, so started reimagining, and now you can find Bo's Coffee in mini stops, soon hopefully in 7-Elevens, because we now bottle our coffee. I don't think we would have ever thought of doing that before. Now, you can see that Manam is another brand that's very fine dining casual, but they're now in 7-Elevens. So it's part of a reimagining. They just started to reimagine as well. The second R is repurpose. Repurpose our supply chain, repurpose our commissary. This means that our commissary used to be just a supplies all our stores, but now we repurpose the commissary to be a front facing store as well online. So we serve outside of the commissary right now. So that's something that came out of the repurpose process. The third R is reorganize, and reorganize means we reorganize our team based on the situation. So first thing is we put people where they are on essential functions. So one of the things that are on hold right now is the audit team. What will the audit team do when there's no stores that are open? So we need to reorganize a team, and they're now part of the procurement team. So the barista in stores that are open right now, we only need 3 to 4 baristas, and there are around 12 baristas per store. So some of the barista are going to be reorganized and redeployed to be delivery people. So that's just really reorganized. So 3 R's: reimagine, repurpose, and reorganize. So as we look forward to the future, our team came up. I gathered the most creative people in our team, the most vibrant, the most dynamic people in our team, to form an ideation committee. And the ideation committee is supposed to come up with opportunities that is opportunities in the new normal. And the 3 guiding questions there is, what are the new market behaviors of our food retail service industry? Number 2, what opportunities can we spot out of these new behaviors? And number 3, what actions will we take to leverage on these opportunities? So these questions, for a month and a half, the team got together and they presented to me last week, and I'm very happy with the results. And we're soon gonna and soon gonna execute all of that were presented to me last week that were approved. So, and we categorize that which ones can we do this month, which one can we do the month after, and which one can we do the month after that. You know, as we move forward, our strategies is really tagged on two things. Two words, hopeful and conservative. We're very hopeful for the future. We're hopeful that things will go back to normal. Everything we do right now is coated with so much hope. And the second word is conservative. But as we do these things, we continue to be conservative in managing our cash, managing our assets, managing our people. So these are just few of the things that now you can see on online stores. You can buy. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much. And alam mo, partner, iingitin kita because currently I'm holding something. Steve, are you telling me that this coffee in this bottle was only developed during this lockdown, Steve?
That was developed, no. That was thought about around January.
Okay.
Well, COVID was around already. But yeah.
We're not yet in the Q&A, brother. We're not yet in the Q&A, but it excites me really to hear from you, to be hopeful and conservative. Ang ganda, partner, 4-piece.
Yes.
4-piece yung government. Sa kanya iba
4-piece. Oh, 3-piece nga lang yun, partner. Ito, 4-piece. 4-piece and 3 R's.
Yeah. Protect, preserve, prepare, pivot, then reimagine, repurpose, and reorganize. Pero gusto ko yung mantra niya, yung be able, be agile, be flexible. Did I get that right, Steve?
Be nimble.
Be nimble.
Be nimble. Okay. I heard it's be able. All right. So
Okay.
we've heard two gentlemen already at may kakampi ngayon si Cheryl. Meron kang kasing ganda ngayong araw na to and we want to hear from her. Please proceed, partner, to introduce our next panelist.
Yes, of course. Our second panelist studied BS Psychology in Ateneo de Manila University and shortly went on to build her first business, Charlie, an apparel and accessories brand in 2011. As she immersed in the fashion industry, our panelists and her co-founders found a gap and the need in the market for stylish yet affordable sunglasses and prescription eyewear that is simple and accessible. This gave birth to Sunny's Studios and Sunny's Specs. Furthermore, as Sunny's established itself as a lifestyle brand, more concepts were launched. You know, partner, I met her way back in 2016 at Go Negosyo. Our lovely panelist is a co-founder and operations director for all the Sunny's concepts. This lifestyle brand includes Sunny's Studios, Sunny's Specs Optical, Sunny's Specs Kids, Sunny's Cafe, and Sunny's Face. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it from our friend, Miss Bea Soriano D. Good afternoon, Bea.
Hey, Cheryl. Hey, guys. I'm so happy to be here to share and learn from everyone here today. Thank you so much to the PFA for having me. I'm Bea Soriano D, and as what Cheryl said, I'm a co-founder of the Sunny's Group, which includes a lot of S, Sunny Studios, Sunny Specs Optical, Sunny's Face, Sunny's Cafe, and we have over 150 retail stores nationwide. I'm with you here today because like many of you, for the past 2 months, our business, specifically our optical shop, well, until recently we had 0 revenues. Before this pandemic, 100% of our optical business was offline. When the government announced the lockdown, and I can still remember it, the first thing that we thought was, God, we don't have an optical shop online. And also if we did, for you to buy prescription glasses, you'd need a copy of your prescription. But who has that? The government gave us 4 days to prepare for the lockdown and get all the necessary things we need, like food, water, toilet paper. I don't think anybody ever said, I need to rush and get a copy of my prescription. So we were thinking, what now? If this was gonna go on for 6 months, we have to find a way to reach our customers. So we said, let's just bite the bullet. Let's go ahead, build that website, and learn things along the way. If it doesn't get sales, at least we tried. So why am I sharing this with you? Because all businesses will have a barrier to e-com or to selling. But it's not impossible to find a way around it. Ours is optical, which is probably one of the toughest to sell online. But we just got in there and learned along the way. It didn't have to be perfect, it just had to be timely. So to those who are listening, don't get scared to start. A typical website takes 14 weeks to make. Our ECQ version took Eric and his team just 6. We took out the frills and just made everything that's just essential. So today, I'm gonna talk to you about how convenience and personalization helped us. I know these buzzwords have been thrown around even before the pandemic, but it really, really guided us in the decisions we're making every day. Remember when I said, we'll just build the website and learn along the way? When we were building it, they actually found a way to migrate 500,000 unique prescriptions gathered from our stores from last year alone. So not only do our customers get a copy of their prescription, they actually can order their glasses online without even having to type in their grade. I think that's convenience. Make it easy for people to buy you. But we define people, what people meant during this lockdown. We focus on a very specific target market. People, to us, meant existing customers, loyal ones who love us for our designs. We have to serve them. I'm pretty sure from those 500,000, a good number need to repurchase specs. I mean, I live with my father-in-law, Ricky, and I can't tell you how many times he sat in the specs or how many times my children scratch his lenses. So in the first week of our website launch in May 15, we had 30,000 unique visitors. How did we do that? We just tapped whoever customer we already had. We also shifted our marketing spend on billboards and mall ads to free shipping. It converts super instantaneously. We just have to keep rewarding our existing customers. To be honest, that hasn't replaced the volume of what we get in our stores, but it's a start. We haven't opened any offline store yet. So this is our only stream of revenue to keep the jobs of our Sunny's family. But what I'm trying to say is don't be afraid to start new things and find different ways of selling. Don't get paralyzed with perfection, just start it. Another thing we did for our optical website is to provide virtual consultation. You can get on a virtual consultation with our doctors. But just like in our store, our online presence can't just be transactional. What Janlo said is true for us. Think about your customer journey online. And why is that important? Because we crave for human connection, and more so in this pandemic, and more so that we're Filipinos, it ranks high in our needs. The more we go online, the more we need to make it human. A customer needs to feel heard, seen, valued, even when there's no physical interaction. When you buy prescription glasses, you value seeing a doctor to assure you it's the right one. We made our doctors available online from the comfort of their own homes. The customer journey points that needed human connection, we placed it in there. I see how the doctors even help the patients decide on the frame, the color, or even just wanting to chat. I'm so proud of them when I see that they shift and adapted so fast. Like in the first week alone, they were able to respond to 2,000 messages. Like they weren't even sleeping anymore. I'm so proud of our entire team, actually. They were so agile and willing to adapt, and that's what is super important in this pandemic right now. Another thing that really helped us during the lockdown was we made everyone in the retail force, those that aren't going to work yet, to know what's happening with their brands online. They need to feel like they're still part of the company, and we give them all the materials we post online, and we ask them to send it to their friends or family that may need it. So that's about 1,000 people, spreading it to 5 to 10 people each. That sums up to about 10,000 people reach on a personal level. From those 10,000, some of those will probably sit in their glasses soon. Now we're set to open our stores this week. From March 15 to May 15, we paid everyone their full salaries. From May 15 to now, we are at a flexible work arrangement, phase 1, where only people working on business critical projects are tapped. When I say business critical, I mean just those that can help with direct revenues. Once we hit 40% of our target sales, we will be able to tap everyone again and be able to move to flexible work arrangement phase 2, where we will be shifting to a 4-day work week, saving about 20% in cost. We're doing the best we can to shift to phase 2, and I see the energy of everyone just wanting to help the company get to that. Tomorrow, we are opening some of our stores, and it's scary. I'm expecting the worst, but at the same time, really curious to see how this is going to pan out. The hope that's getting me through this all is when I see my team, I see my partners during this pandemic. They're fast, they're agile, they're passionate, they're willing to adapt, and most importantly, they care. So I believe we will get through this. That's it for me.
Wow. Beautiful presentation indeed, partner. I love it. I love it when she said that it did not be perfect, just timely. Don't be paralyzed by perfection. And she expressed her fear of tomorrow's opening. Yeah,
Yes.
but you know, from her, in fact, I already messaged, I took note of it, and I want this for my company myself, that her online is more human. It was made to be more human. Yeah, I think, you know, young as she is, I have taken a lot of notes from her. Convenience and personalization, these were two strategies she adopted to be more relevant, and she focused on the loyal customers because that's what she had at the moment. All right. But she said, don't be afraid. She admitted that she's scared for tomorrow, but she's as well curious. Thank you very much, Bea.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Bea. There you go, partner. And moving on to our third panelist, who is a multi-awarded entrepreneur and a resource speaker to various private and public educational institutions on corporate strategy, business policy, entrepreneurial development, and marketing. Since 2005, he has been a speaker and a member of the Go Negosyo movement of the Philippine Center for Entrepreneurial Development. He graduated cum laude in BS Business Administration and completed his MBA with Top MBA Graduates Award at the University of the Philippines, Diliman. He also attended the Teacher Trainers Program on International Business and Corporate Strategy held in INSEAD, Fontainebleau, France. Our panelist is the founder and director of T Brothers Incorporated, known also as Chatime, the Chatime Philippines Master Franchisee, and the founder and president of the French Baker Incorporated. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give our warm welcome to Mr. Janlu Koa. Good afternoon, Janlu.
Good afternoon, everybody, especially to you, Cheryl and Carl, Bea, and Jan Lo over there. First of all, and of course, our good friend, Bo's Coffee founder, Steve. First of all, I'm not here to present any slides. My idea is just to tell you, oh, by the way, I have a timer, a bakery timer, to let you know that I'm going to be on time. I'm going to tell you about what I'm doing, and I'll be honest with you about my feelings and how we don't mind. When these things dropped, I did not panic, only because I am senior by now, and I've been through martial law. I've been through EDSA Revolution, Pinatubo, the earthquakes, the second and the third EDSAs, the coup d'etats. And in all of these crises, somehow the company became better. We found opportunities. And so I said to myself, maybe this is another time. This is another time for me to experience another point of inflection in our sales growth. Meaning to say, this is a new environment where there are disturbances and there may be threats, but there must be opportunities. Luckily, in Chatime, we did not close for too long. Within weeks, we are reopened. Today, we are close to more than 50% open nationwide. So we're open in Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. In the case of French Baker, we never really closed because the stores that are near the supermarkets or inside the supermarkets remain open as per request of DTI and also the owners of the supermarket. It would be really odd if government mandates 3 loaves of bread per person, and then here you are, a big bakery doing fresh bread, not being able to open. So I thought that my order of the day at the time was to keep the bakeries open and get the bakers to bake and show people that this crisis is not man-made. This crisis is because of a virus. Nobody was stopping us from doing our own thing except to protect our own. So that was the initial part. Right now, what are we doing? And I'm really glad that the previous speakers had already told you about all the constructs, all their hypotheses, all of their theories, all of their givens and assumptions. I don't need to say that. It's already 3 minutes, by the way. I just want to tell you that, like you, I am also fearful. Like you, I'm also anxious. Like you, I'm also afraid. There are nights when I felt I couldn't sleep, not because of anything. I just thought to myself, what if people got sick? What would I do? What would they do? What if the markets closed because supermarkets, I mean, because there would be like infection big time. What ifs, what ifs. And then eventually I fall asleep, trusting that God has a plan for everything. And maybe just say a prayer and then close your eyes, boom, you go to sleep. Next morning, wake up, you feel good, enjoy your coffee, whichever brand. And the coffee of the day is both, Steve, le café de jour. And so we don't have big plans because we're a company that is not small, but we still think small. We're still in touch with key people in the organization across the Philippines. We are in touch 24/7. Everybody's got to answer my text, my WhatsApp, my Viber. Everybody's got to respond within minutes when the boss calls.
Mhm.
It is only because we need to make a judgmental call. You could not enter a marketplace because there are checkpoints. What will you do? Somebody must be there to make a decision. So these were the things that were happening day in and day out because we never stayed close. So what did I decide to do? Since many of my French bakers, shops, and chat time are in malls, I started to think it's not unsafe to be in the mall. Do you know that the malls are so safe that they have they can clear out the air hundreds of times a day? Because as an inline restaurateur and bakery, we're supposed to spend millions to put in place an in um, fresh air intake and hot air exhaust. That provides for air exchange. Secondly, mall ceilings are really high, and air conditioning is okay. And it's so huge. And people are going in and out of the malls in the last 2 months, buying their provisions and buying for everything. So I took the time to tell government, to tell my co-tenants, to tell my co-restaurateurs that let us give people some semblance of normalcy, adopt all of the safety measures, and bring them back to the mall because the malls are so safe from a point of view, from a bio threat point of view, as well as from security point of view. You know, in these hard times, you just don't want to roam around the street with your beautiful car. Things can happen, and I don't have to say what. So, in summary, I would like just to say that in the case of chat time, okay, we also try to open as many stores as we can. Those stores that needed help, we helped them. For example, we cut the royalties by half because our foreign principal from Taiwan first suggested to us that that is the best way to help them. Secondly, for those who did not open yet, we said that we postpone all the collection notices. We will not collect from them what they owe us in terms of supplies. And also we have continuous seminars with them to prepare them for post, not post, to prepare them for reopening. So that is being done. In French Baker, since we've been baking already for the last 6 weeks, and I would just like to tell everybody, don't be afraid of the new normal. We've been there already for 6 weeks. We have been baking, we have been cooking for takeaway inside the mall. We already know how people behave. Don't be too anxious. Let's just do it. Don't have too much plans that you will probably have, you might be taxing your people into over-imagining. David, para ka na mag-exam. When I used to give exams, my students would probably, fear that I was a terror. But no need. It's just that what you do at home, you do in your workplace. What you read from social media and other media, try to practice it. Obviously, if you've been staying healthy for 6 months, continue doing so. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Fear is our greatest enemy, not COVID. I've been moving around. You will see me in my white jacket. I would be in SNR, Landers, SM Store, Pioneer Supermarket, Robinson's, Marketplace, Temple Drive. I try to show myself to my people. So if the boss is not afraid, who am I to be afraid of? And that's what I do. And I'd like to inspire all of you listening. You should start to think about your future. If you are cowed by fear, what will happen to you? If you are cowed by anxiety, you might get sick. So we tell our employees the same thing. But of course, what I did was, upon lockdown, the first thing I did was to buy lots of vitamin C and zinc and Immune Pro. That's the best, Unilab. Thank you, Unilab. They made sure I had supplies. And so everybody got, instead of giving them hazard pay or what, I did not give hazard pay. Because the important thing is to make sure that they stay fit. So I feed them and I give them supplements and I shuttle them. So these are basic things I did. And so far, our sales are moving already closer to 50% pre-COVID, system-wide. And so I'd like to conclude by saying that businessmen should remember that this is not the first crisis the whole world has gone through. The world went through First World War, Second World War. This is not a world war. This is a war that made us stay home. But what will make us suffer is the thought that we may not want to suffer again. Kasi nakuha na natin eh. We've done so much already. So why are you afraid of? If you can still have that spirit, your muscles are still agile, you can start again. You can start again. So this is a war with nature, but at the same time, this is a time for us, as the speaker said, to repurpose, to reallocate, to refocus, to retrain, re-energize, reorganize, reimagine, redo what we used to do best. I found these 6 weeks a perfect time for me to bake a lot. Every day I'm baking and baking and baking. I'm cooking because it's so great to be able to realize that every day you make yourself productive. We're now ready to reopen our dining, and we're hoping and praying that DTI would give a very good IATF recommendation. So by the end of the month, we might be lucky to be able to reopen our dining. We're already ready with all the protocol. And even before this, we have already been practicing GMP guidelines, good manufacturing protocols or practices that every food manufacturer should be following anyways. So with COVID, it's just the social distancing, the 1.5 meters apart. You probably have to take out the table. We're in the process of doing our acrylic shields and the process of documenting everything that has to be done from store to store, area to area, and from island to island. Maybe LGUs in Mindanao would have a different set of guidelines from LGUs in Luzon and Visayas. We may have to adapt to their guidelines. But overall, I feel confident. I don't know about you. And I would like to infect you with more confidence because I can feel it. I'm the CEO that moves around. I move around every single day. I make sure I see my stores. And that to me is, in my opinion, the best way to make sure that all our people continue to hang on in spite of the fact that there's still no cure. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Cheryl and Carl.
Thank you very much. Nah, really, fear is our biggest enemy, according to John Lucoa. Okay, and I have a definition of courage. To me, courage is not absence of fear; it is the mastery of fear. So, I think for the past 6 weeks or so, partner, we have already mastered fear, and therefore we may already have the courage. Not that we're not afraid, but he's right. Don't panic because we've been through the worst. So, diba? Ang ganda-ganda ng sinabi niyan. And 6 weeks is enough to create new habits indeed. All right, partner? How did you feel
Yeah.
about that?
Yes, partner. Of course, fear of the unknown is the greatest fear of all, diba? So it's very nice to have the pragmatic sharings of John Lu, and we're looking forward to the Q&A later. But first,
Yeah.
partner, I want to finish moving on to our reactor. Please allow me to introduce to you our session's reactor is Chief Digital Officer of the Bank of the Philippine Islands. He creates synergies and orchestrates how we deploy our digital assets. His key competency is in strategy development, product and services development, as well as security and risk management. He led the launch of the bank's digital ecosystem late last year to help BPI become the bank of every day. Our reactor is an experienced regional retail banking professional with an extensive experience of working across the Asia-Pacific banking industry. Ladies and gentlemen, please, let's give it up for Mr. Noel Santiago. Good afternoon, Noel.
Hi, Noel.
Yeah, good afternoon to all. It's an honor to be invited in this kapihan. No? When I was listening for the couple of speakers, no, it gives me certain perspective that I've not heard before. So it's also an enlightening experience for me. Now, I've also put myself into a timer as well. Now, I would like to give some perspective of what we have seen in the last couple of months in this pandemic COVID-19 scenario. If I may start with the presentation. Yeah, it's still rendering. Okay, now I purposely created this first slide to just show that where we were, right? It's really a more graphic illustration of where we were and where we are now, right? And we were projecting that it will take years to come back to where we were, or it may not even come back to where we were. It will always be different from where we were. Now, taking this into the next slide, what we have seen from the financial industry, BPI being one of the largest financial services organization, we can say that we represent, I think, 1/3 of every account in the country is with BPI. And we have seen this tremendous growth. No? This is, even without this COVID-19, we're already seeing adoption in the digital space. However, it accelerated in the last 3 months in view of this lockdown, wherein people are no longer able to come out and do their transactions. Prior to that, we have doubled. What you will see here is the growth, but from the last year to this year, our digital transactions actually doubled. We used to process 1.2 million transactions a week. It's now 2.4 million transactions a week. Not just for shopping. I would like to extend that the word. It's not online shopping. I believe it's called online commerce, because it's not just shopping that you go to. You do logistics, you do delivery, and so on, right? So that is a complete ecosystem by itself. Now we have seen an enrollment of 4 million. We have now 4 million customers who are digitally enabled. So that's just for one bank, right? So for whoever is trying to look at whether there's a potential in going into the digital space, that's just a representation of where the market is nationwide. Now, going to the next slide, having this ready customer base, the next slide will show what really is happening. No? We've seen informal commerce. We've seen people doing buying and selling in Viber, Facebook, WhatsApp, and they're displaying their wares. They're taking photos, and they're saying this is how it's going to be delivered. This is where it's going to be picked up. How much it's going to cost, and some of them are even using their own QR code to collect payments. Now, if you look at the right-hand corner of the slide, people are putting their QR code there and say, this is how you pay me. And they use their Excel spreadsheet to just count how many goods were sold, how many orders were taken, what's outstanding for payment, and so on. So this kind of activity have proliferated and have ramped up in the last 2 months. And I believe it's become very, very successful, especially those businesses that is traditionally relying on physical presence. Now they saw an alternative that they can do both, right? Now, while this is very successful, what we have seen here is becoming too successful will also expose this into this limitation, right? The limitation this will be on the payment side. How you can keep track of the orders and payments, and how do you ensure that you tally with your business ledger tallies with end of days goods sold. Right? Next slide, please. In the next slide, we are saying that there will be a new opportunities that is being presented. The concept of hyperlocal, wherein this is like a community base. They're geographically confined. When there's a lot of activities within the confines of that geography, it can be enabled, right? So why is it an opportunity? Because the cost of doing the business can be confined as well. And it's very targeted. There's an element of trust. You know who's buying, you know who's selling. And even the logistics of that delivery, you don't have to rely on a nationwide service. There could be opportunities wherein a sub-grouping of deliveries would be confined in a certain geographical location. Supply chains can be compartmentalized. If I may reflect on the old days, this is like the old mom and pop shops that used to be in the towns in the US, wherein it was overtaken by the big malls, right? So we're seeing this as a potential spin-off of what happened during this period. But the difference is it's a mom and pop concept, digitally enabled, right? extending this, what do we do? What can we do to help, right? Uh, as a financial services organization, we're looking at how can we help our business partners to provide that payment mechanism. We're we're partnering with fintech companies to allow them to build digital presence in a cost-effective manner. As John Law has started earlier, technology is no longer as prohibitive as before. There are lots of capabilities that can be cost-effective now. So it's no longer uh, as, as a hindrance. Businesses now can start going digital in the most cost-effective manner. And we are a financial services that is partnering with technology companies that would allow them to do that, right? We have partners that can create a virtual store for the businesses, and they will run it. No, the business can run it themselves in a very simplified manner. And again, it unlocks a lot of opportunities for everyone. Going to the next slide.
Okay.
The
Hello.
next slide, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, the clock is ticking, right? We can't wait, right? Regardless of what happened from now as the next normal, as John Law has mentioned, uh, you can't plan that this will be the end state in next year or 3 months from now or next month. But what is important is you have to start something now, early, that would allow you to be in the market, to be in the business, that would prepare you to whatever's going to happen in the next normal. Don't wait. Don't let perfection be the enemy of good. And that's how I see this evolving. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much. So, yeah, don't let perfection be the enemy of good, partner. I like it.
Yes.
I have so many questions for him, especially on the data, the digital adoption. I have some questions for him as well. I'm excited to ask these questions. And how did you feel about that, partner?
Yes, I also have a lot of questions, partner. So yes, please take it away.
All right, let's start the ball rolling. I have some questions for John Law. Okay, John Law. Of course, you're aware that the gyms and fitness businesses are now modifying their facilities to allow more working out while maintaining social distancing. How does that align with or reconcile with your perceived trend of health and wellness?
Yeah, I guess number one, it's really more of like people becoming much more health conscious following this pandemic, and
Okay.
specifically to like what are some of the gyms doing. I don't think it's currently open, but in some markets, what they've done is really they've conducted like a reservation system, so they have like a controlled number of individuals or users within their gym premises, and I think also part of that is really reorienting some of your equipment, making sure that there's no like direct contact or direct facing areas that would again that would help minimize the cross infection within the gym premises also. So, and part of that is also adding to the heightened and also increased frequency of sanitation, meaning cleaning the different equipment and machines regularly, making sure the staff and also the assistants there in the gym are well briefed about the new policies in place and how do they undertake, for example, like how do they help assist without really invading the privacy and making sure that they are still observing the social distancing measures that are being implemented across the world.
So you're confident that the health and wellness trend that you're seeing is something that's going to help the gym and the fitness centers in along the way.
I think it's part of it. Like now, some of them are doing like a lot of online classes just to make sure that they still have engagement with different individuals and stakeholders. So they're doing classes, and I think you're going to see that more in a lot of individuals becoming much more health conscious, especially now that this pandemic is really more of a social social impact as opposed to its economic impact. So people are much more conscious about their their health and also their well-being. And this may also again impact the health and wellness sector moving forward.
And that came from Noel Sigawat. By the way, most of us actually gained weight, and I'm sure in the chance we will be back to the gym. All right,
Right.
there are related questions, one from Dayan and one from Marivic. The first one is, given the current situation, what will be the new customer experience? That's one question because she's in the online business, okay? So she wants the definition of the new customer experience given the next. I've heard, partner, that we are not using the new normal anymore, but a lot of our speakers use the word next normal because this is not new anymore after how many weeks indeed. And the other one, another related question is, how can one maintain quality customer experience when physical distancing measures dictate that business operate only with 50% capacity? That's from Marivic.
Okay. On the first question of how it's the new customer profile. So like what I've mentioned in the presentation, it's really more of a much more online experience for a lot of them. Again, this is limited really by the guidelines we currently have. So we have a lot of the households staying, a lot of individuals staying home, and that's really going to fuel the e-commerce, like what Noel has shared earlier in his presentation. And we think that it's really more of having a stronger online presence. And basically, how do you connect using your online platform since you don't have any physical store? Is how do you connect and how do you utilize your platform to better connect and resonate with your clients? And that's similar to what Bea shared earlier. It's really having that personal touch, especially during this difficult time. And I think that's going to resonate well with a lot of the customers that you have. At the same time, I think it's really more of having
the online experience is the new experience.
yes,
We just have more experiential, no? Like not very transactional really, but very human. Bea used it, no?
correct. And I think you also have to think about, like, for example, the user interface or like how easy it is to use your platform. Does it really help the buyer or customer or direct them towards what they need to do? Does it showcase all of your products and services that you are offering? And I think the other key thing to that is really having a strong logistics network and capability to be able to deliver those products and items at a timely manner.
All right,
So
and then
yeah, so that's for the first question. For the second one,
go ahead.
yeah, it's for I think that's specific to the F&B context, if I'm not mistaken. Carl, that's for food and beverage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can you ensure the experience? Yeah, when dancing, mandates that there should only be 50% capacity.
Yeah. So we have this. Well, in our company, we're working with different real estate stakeholders. So not just retail. So we do have this like plan that we set up for our clients in terms of like how do they restart or re-enter their respective premises. So a lot of that is really identifying, number one, the critical businesses or the critical operations that needs to be physically present in your premises. And I think that's what Bea also shared earlier in her presentation. It's just really identifying who should be in the physical stores, making sure that they're well briefed again of the new government policies and are in compliant with what's needed to be done according to the new government guidelines. Definitely, it's tough because the market is it's quite challenging environment, and it's really more of finding ways to find business and really minimizing, I guess, the number of employees also, if possible, because depending on the level of activity that we will find in the next coming weeks, whether there's going to be a lifting or modification of the community quarantine, that's going to basically determine the volume of footfall that we will all experience. So that meaning that you don't really need a lot of people within your stores, maybe just 2-3 individuals just to make sure that there's one that prepares the food or prepares the area and someone that also handles the customer. And I think it's going to be rotating shifts. So there might be a team A, team B on a weekly basis. A lot of sanitation also as you prepare your re-entry. So taking a look at your premises, if you're going to open, let's say, a dining area, it has to be recalibrated. And that may mean that you're going to be configuring the positions of the tables, making sure that no one is like facing one another, having these like physical barriers also to make sure that you can really minimize or contain the spread of the virus. So some of the things that people can do. And again, you go back to what Noel also said, that these things need not to be expensive. Again, some of these are quite affordable also, and that can be done by just simple reconfiguration of your store layout.
All right, thank you. And partner, you know who I remember in this question, for this question, was Robert Trota. Remember he said for Max's group, remember he said that some of
Fail
his
fast.
some of his waiters will have to be converted to become call center people. I remember him saying that because he wanted to keep them and he really wants to reduce the human resource in that particular dining area. The next set of questions for Steve. Steve, by the way, thank you for the coffee. The question is related to what I'm drinking. It's a certainly hot coffee. Hot good coffee once delivered loses its optimal quality. How do you address that? And are you looking at expanding the retail of the beans? That's the question. And thank you for this. See, okay. And and related to that is the question. Cheers. The question. The safety measure is not only on the food itself. I mean, in terms of delivery, it's not only on the food itself, but in the totality, including the handling and the transportation of food. What's your thought about these questions?
Yeah. So first of all, we take sanitation and safety really a priority in our stores. So packaging really plays a big part of the whole experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we choose the menu. Our delivery is actually a limited menu. We limited menu that were delivered, and we felt that most of those that are in the menu can keep its freshness once it gets to the one who ordered. So that's the first run and test that we did. Second is we also work a lot on the packaging, not only in terms of keeping the warmth and the freshness, but as well as the safety of the product that we serve. So we make sure of that. The third one is we practice safety protocols in our stores and make sure that the baristas really strictly follow those protocols. Now, having said all of those measures that we are applying, once we send it out to the aggregators to deliver, we are confident that because of those packaging and the protocols that we implemented, it gets to the customer safe, right, and in good condition. So we are continuously improving the packaging. If you're talking about the store experience, we now have to translate store experience through the packaging that we have. So it's like, can you imagine like opening your new phone, right? And the unboxing of a new phone, the unboxing of a new gadget that you get that you buy from online. So there's a total experience and excitement once you get that in your house. So that kind of excitement is something that we're trying to emulate and trying to bring into the food delivery component of our business.
Okay. So the question is, are you now retailing this, Steve? Are you now retailing this? And now you're.
Yes, we are. We are. In fact, we have the coffee beans in the supermarkets, and you can buy that online in maybe right now 3 portals, 3 platforms, and also in our stores. You can buy those beans.
All right. There's a very relevant question here by the way, those questions came from Andrew. Okay. Andrew Intia. And another question is, how can we can manage cash by improving terms with suppliers? That's a recommendation coming from you. But the question is, how can we negotiate terms with suppliers if they themselves also have been affected by the crisis? What's your experience on this? Because I think he quoted, Marie Anna Grace quoted you in saying that we can manage cash by improving terms with suppliers. But when they're also in crisis, how did you successfully do that?
Okay, and that's a very good question. So first of all, we need to categorize our suppliers into 2. One, really big suppliers, I mean, corporations and big suppliers and manufacturers. And the second one are the small businesses, like we deal with the social enterprises. And so those are small businesses that we support. So and in both cases, it starts with a very good transparent conversation with with both parties, right? So you have to be transparent with them. You have to understand the needs of the small suppliers as against the big suppliers, and make them understand that we're in this together. I mean, if you don't give us these terms, we suffer, we lose our business, then we can pay you in the long run. So I think what is important when you go into that meaningful conversation is that you need to understand that we both have to survive, and we can, and once we survive this, then we can work to restoring back our relationship, our normal relationship. So I think so. In Bose right now, we prioritize our small suppliers. Sorry if they're big suppliers here, but we really try to see if this supplier, if we don't pay them now, will their business be cut off? And we don't want that. We don't want that to happen. So we'd like to spread all our resources and our cash to as many suppliers that we have, especially the small ones. So yeah, that's my.
Thank you for that. And that's why my son loves your coffee. He's from UP, and when he saw the coffee delivered this morning from Boss, he said, "I love that coffee." And you know what? When Secretary Mon was the guest speaker in the PCCI General Membership Meeting, and I asked him, what help do you need from us? He simply said, buy local. That's all he said.
Yes,
and you
partner.
answer the question of Kath Francisco, who was asking about make rebuilding inclusive in terms of helping its members in the supply chain. Thank you for that. My next set of questions for Bea. Yeah. And one question was actually directed to Steve, but I think I should ask this to Bea, because this was what you shared to us earlier. What best advice can you give to those SMEs like me that's now shifting to the use of social media platforms to promote our business? What's your advice, Bea, based on your experience?
I think number one is, I'm going to go back to what Janlo said. When you do your website, make sure that you stress test it across like different screens. For example, for us, we look at the desktop, we look at the laptops, we look at small screens, big screens. Make sure that each and every customer of yours can shop on your sites properly. Another thing for me is like what I said earlier, make it human. Like people right now, they want to DM, they want to message, they want to chat. So give that to them. What with our stores, what happened is that we have about 100 doctors online, and we tap them to actually be on our virtual consultation page, so that when the customers are asking for things about their prescription, it's doctors who are actually answering them.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice. And someone knows Snellen's chart here, and is asking, some patients change their eye grades every year, and for you to check it correctly, you need an auto refraction. How did you do that virtually?
Actually, we haven't done it virtually yet. What I said in my speech was that we only catered to the existing customers that we had, and the 500,000 unique prescriptions were within a year, which is usually advised by the doctors, because in that time frame, your grade doesn't usually change. But if the patient feels that their eye grades have changed, we advise for them to wait until ECQ has been lifted so they can be checked safely by our doctors.
That's actually my situation now. I'd like my eyeglass changed, but I don't want to go to my optical clinic. Yeah, you mentioned about, this is from Michael, you mentioned about 2,000 messages coming in when you do your online consultation as part of the customer journey online. I'd like to know how your company is able to assist these customers, and how well do you handle these massive volumes of online consultations?
So what we did was we repurposed people, exactly what you guys were talking about earlier. There are many of our employees right now that aren't really, they don't have work because the stores are not open. So we repurpose them so that they can help answer all of these queries.
And your response time is how long? Do you have like a standard that, because in my company, I make sure that we have a standard response time. Did you define that?
I mean, right now, we try to limit the queries from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Mm-hmm. At first, it was really just from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. because we can't keep all of the people online the whole time. But now, when the amount of messages that came in, we made it 9 to 9.
Yeah, but you know,
Yeah, the response time right now not as fast as it would be, but we are working on it.
Great. You know, thank you really for, I learned something very important from you today, the words convenience and personalization, because, you know, I'm in an education business. And whenever we go online, we sometimes forget that aside from content, we have to actually connect. And the human connection is very important in education. And believe it or not, now I have a new picture message that I will upload later that says, humanizing our online service to them. Thank you for that. Online, make it more human. I think that's the best lesson we learned from you. Breaking news, there's a 5.1 earthquake earlier in La Union, San Fernando. Okay, just a breaking news. Para kung nasa show ko ano. And for John, thank you very much, Bea. John Lu, I have a question for you. My question first before this set of questions sent to me. You said no big plans. Is that your definition of agility? Are you I mean, that was something I did not expect from a professor of business saying no big plans. Are you trying to say that agility is enough and you're confident enough that the big plans may not be necessarily at this point in time? John Lu?
Carl, I guess that's me, right? Not John Lowe. I like John Lowe.
Wait, I think, John Lu,
yeah, I'm just joking.
Something is wrong with your audio. Can you remove your earpiece already? It was better earlier. Yeah, can you try it again?
Yeah, so you can't hear me, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, it's still muffled. I can
Partner,
yes.
while John Lu is fixing his audio, can I ask a question, partner? Kasi there were sharings earlier.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of good takeaways. Like Bea was sharing earlier about having the experience, the customer experience to their online store, comparing it to human interaction, almost human interaction. Because partner, a lot of takeaways as entrepreneurs now that we've been doing during the crisis, we can actually bring even after we've gone over this, right?
Yeah.
So you were talking about, so a lot of people are asking, paano ba yon? How to make the experience better? And she was sharing earlier about, and you were asking about the time, the response time, no? Kasi kami, what we've learned also, partner, is that a lot of the customers, even if you have a website that is that can answer right away, no? May mga auto responses kasi yan eh. When you click, but the customers, because they have more time now talking and asking questions, you have to be responsive. And then you have to, even like what Bea was sharing, cutting profits, and allocating those costs, minimizing some costs and putting it onto the enhancing the virtual experience, which is actually for them free delivery. Kami ang lalayo ng iba naming destinations, no? But most of our deliveries are subsidized. And also, lastly, is the timeline. Giving your clients timeline. When are we going to receive that, given the cost of delays? My question, partner, especially to Steve, for Bo's Coffee, he shared earlier about the integrity of his products through packaging. Kasi a lot of concerns now, especially for food, are what are the interventions the brands are doing to ensure the integrity of their product when they use third-party couriers or logistics? Kasi di ba, partner, may mga intriga, nakikialam sila dun sa product, no, before delivery. Yes, Steve.
Steve?
Sorry, Cheryl. You're talking about the third-party logistics?
Yes, so when you or your clients book for orders and use a third-party logistics, meaning not your in-house delivery guys, right? How do you ensure, or what are interventions or best practices that you've employed? You've mentioned about packaging. Are there anything else to ensure na pagdating sa kanila is the same integrity as when they go to the store and buy it for themselves?
Yeah. The two-pronged answer to that. First is we're also developing our own fleet to address that problem, right? But while that's not yet happening, and we're doing that very slowly and rolling out very slowly, we try to control what we can control. I mean, as far as we are concerned, when we're packaging the products within the store or in the commissary, we do everything that we can to make the product safe and arrive at the destination at the highest quality it can. But the moment it gets to Food Panda, I believe that we've done our job in making that safe. I mean, there's nothing that can happen within the motorcycle or in that insulated bag that could actually, if the packaging was just enforced properly, that could alter that, unless nahulog or whatever, right? But those are very rare cases. So we focus on what we can control. We make sure that before it gets out of our stores and outside of our premises, that it's all totally safe and it's totally can maintain the quality that that we our standard of quality when it gets to the customer.
All right. Okay, thank you. I think John Lu is already ready for the answer. John Lu. Okay, maybe hear from you. Okay.
Can you hear
Yes.
me?
Yes, John Lu. Loud and clear.
Okay. Hindi naman walang plan. Remember, we
Hindi
were
plan.
already, kanina yung sa question na may plano ba, wala. When I say big plan, ito yung suddenly you go up, you call for a meeting, then you have big charts. Although that's needed, and sobra akong sanay when I was teaching for 15 years. My point with no plan is that what is needed at the moment? Survival.
Correct.
The plan is to survive no matter what.
Mhm.
Medyo maswerte lang kami because we are just next to a supermarket. And nobody really wants to shut down a supermarket and drugstore.
Yeah.
Now, if I had a store beside Marie Curie Drug, I would be happiest too.
Right.
Because they have free parking na and they're 24/7. So anyway, kidding aside, we had plans. Oh, by the way, Steve, beautiful presentation. And Bea, we have the French Baker online already launched. And it is now selling. We did not make fanfare. We just advanced the launching date. So from there, people can buy, pay us, we deliver. All the goods come in a brown box, sealed, end to end, top and bottom. And we have an unconditional guarantee of satisfaction. You call us, you complain, next delivery, we replace. Now, we want to make sure they order again. So it's very simple. Maybe the big plan would be really related to mga scenario building. I think everybody should have scenarios. What if you reopen and it does not happen? You gotta have something to fall back onto. Kami naman, we do business with the biggest malls and we're very confident with them like Ayala, SM, Robinson, did I miss out on a Mega World, for example? They're and our good friends here and there. Robinsons, Mr. Deco. And we are also very confident that without thinking too much, they're thinking on our behalf. And Carl and Cheryl, do not forget, sa una pa lang sila na nagbigay ng notice na don't worry people, stay safe. We have suspended collection of rent.
That's correct.
Can you imagine that news? This is like Easter Sunday message. Dumating na yung hope, di ba? Kasi when nag-lockdown, we were in limbo. Oh my gosh, what will happen if we couldn't, no sales, no money coming in, and if you don't pay, you will incur interest charges, penalties, etc. That thing is erased. Right. And then, yung isang part naman, yung supplier, alam din naman ng supplier mo. Siguro by this time, after 31 years, French Baker, a AAA buyer ako. Sige, don't supply me. Sige, tingnan natin. Sige. Bilog naman ang mundo, ika nga, di ba? So, they will probably have to give you a little bit of allowance. Yung mga small suppliers naman, hindi naman, kasi small, hindi naman malalaki. So, habang nagbebenta ka at hindi mo sila binabayan, siyempre, magagalit. Kasi nagbebenta ka na eh. Kung lahat naman ay shutdown, wala kang magagawa. That's clear. So I believe in what Steve said. So the big ones, they have the means. The small ones, they also have to survive. I think this applies universally to all. Thank you.
All right. Question from Cherry Ang. Are you planning, is there a possibility to resell the products of French Baker? Is that something in your game plan?
Yeah, right now we have communities acting out as as consolidators.
Mm.
Find a way na lang and connect with us. Sharon, is that you? What's her name?
Cherry Ang.
Cherry. Yeah. We've realized that people are willing to
Resell.
pay a premium to resell, as long as they're fresh and not adulterated. And we've had a lot of experiences already.
I think the next question comes from a person in the food industry. Are you still using stainless steel utensils, or or more on reusable? Do you increase the price because of the pandemic? How do you do it?
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Okay, I am with the DTI Resto PH group that is crafting protocol for implementation by the IATF. And this thing cropped up. So it depends. If the format, the restaurant is based on takeaway, is based on quick dining, of course plastic is okay. It's up to them to reprice. But for those who use stainless steel, it's also okay, because stainless steel, like human bodies, can be sanitized and washed. Hindi ba?
Yeah. Right.
You just wash it, you can sanitize it. At 60 Celsius, everything dies. So, feeling ko lang, we should allow them to use stainless steel as long as it is sanitized. And just for everybody, years ago, for everybody's information, years ago, I was in a French baker store in Mall of Asia. Then there were 2 Russian tourists who came with the cruise ship. He sat in front of me, no English at all. The first thing he asked for was a beautiful pastry. The second thing he did was to take out a spray bottle that had alcohol. The third thing he did was to spray it on the plate, wipe, and ask for extra tissue, and sprayed on the cutleries one by one. And I thought to myself, wow, this guy must have been through a lot. He must have traveled probably to Africa and to all parts of the world. This was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And so today it became so relevant. All of us have something like that. So if you just want to be double extra careful, bring some spray bottle or alcohol and sanitize your plate and your spoon, anything that comes into contact with your mouth.
Yeah. All right, Janlu. Before Noel's question, this is personal. You started with saying you did not panic. Then you cited some crisis that we've been through. Then later on, you said that you're somehow fearful and anxious. In the beginning, you had sleepless nights. Then in the end, you said fear is our biggest enemy. So let's not be afraid. That's very inspiring for me to hear from Jan Lucoa. The question is, have you had this, because this is important for others, where to get that inspiration. Have you had business experience that made you resilient? I mean, business failures that made you as resilient, that were not only because of crisis, but because of, business failures. And can you please tell us about that? I think that's very relevant where you're coming.
I think everybody should know. I think everybody should know that an entrepreneur is a person that does business does something that is risky. When you do business, you're risking your capital, not just your time. And the problem in doing business is that you do it in a marketplace where there are many buyers and sellers. You cannot and you could not control. You could not control the business environment. That is where the risk lies. So when I say that do not panic, it simply means that do your share like Steve. You think about it, you write your beautiful plan. But sometimes you just have to be also thinking about other things. Suddenly, you are thinking about this, and then sasabihin ng IATF, oh, MECQ na. OMG, what will I have to do? Oh, bigla na lang, akala namin, hindi matutuloy yung GCQ. Ngayon, GCQ na NCR. By end of the month, then you have to do this. So, overall, the way I see it, I'm not as afraid anymore because I'm sure that the big tycoons there, they have like 1,000,000 times more pressure than us. But in our own little way, what affects us? I think family first, your children, your family, your employee. Secondly, I think your suppliers. They also give life to you as well as you bring back some returns to them. And thirdly, our customers. And then beyond that, I think everything is okay lang.
All right.
Ay, okay na rin yun because we've been through coup d'etat, we've been through dictatorship, we've been through so many things. Mount Pinatubo eruption, Yolanda, etc. And then this is global, so we learn from everybody else. Like you.
Thank you. You know, I miss my show, John Lu. I miss you in my show. I really look forward to having you again. Now, I have a set of questions for Noel. But Noel, let me start with mine. You showed us some growth in the digital adoption and that graph that showed as if a lot, it doubled up or something. That was wonderful. The question is, did that translate to volume of transaction in terms of pesos? And how does that compare with the proportion of those who are still in the traditional banking? Did that necessarily increase the peso transaction along the way, or just the number of transactions?
The proportion of the transaction, the number of the count against the value, we've seen consistency in the proportion. The ticket size is not much different from the previous one. So we really saw it's not just a breaking up or sashaying the transaction, but it's really almost for the same amount, they're doing more, right? It's really an adoption, right? That's what we've seen.
Which is good. Which is good beginning because we accelerated the digitalization of the banking industry because of this, right?
Yeah, and that's just for the financial. We also have seen the non-financial. We've seen customers who are looking more of their statements. They're looking more of their portfolio. We're looking more of their balances on a daily basis, right? So they're now learning that they don't need to go to the branch and ask for what's my balance, can you print my statement, right? They're doing it DIY, and they're becoming more effective by doing that because they now have the information at their fingertips.
Good.
Now, can I just react to the previous discussions?
Go ahead, please.
I just want to emphasize, while everybody wants to go digital, is for so many years as proclaiming, evangelizing customer experience. There are also industries that I say you should not overdo, right? Yeah. It has to be in an industry that requires personalization. There are industries that is best implemented digitally in the most efficient way. It may not be personalized, but it is efficient, it's trusted, and it's fast, right? That's for the experience part.
Yeah.
For learnings across industries, especially for the FMB, there are technologies that we can learn from, if I may say so, the Disneyland queuing model, where it tells you for FMB, those people who are booking, who are doing reservation, no one is saying that you cannot put that online and then say, how long does it take to wait for that table, and integrate that with Waze, and then be able to calculate how much really is the travel time from your place to that place until your turn is available, right? So these are technologies that's really available right now.
Solutions, indeed. The questions from Mary Jo is, does BPI have, and several of them, by the way, similar question, do you have any new platforms for business to ease up digital payment options, especially in this migration to digitalization? New platforms, new products.
Yeah, I was waiting for that question. We've partnered with fintech companies that most of the friction that we've seen in e-commerce is the point of payment. Filipinos, I think by culture, always wants to do cash on delivery. They want to see the goods or ensure that the goods is delivered before they hand over the payment, right?
Ang duda.
Yeah, they call it kaliwaan model, right? Traditionally, in the e-commerce space, that type of protection had been performed by credit card, that you can dispute if the product that was delivered is not according to what you ordered. You can dispute that and you can defer payment until the dispute is settled, right? But that doesn't work in a lot of cases now, right? Uh, it's a low value, simple purchases that requires payments, right? So we gravitated to cash on delivery, right? So we work with our technology partners and said, how can we digitize that? How can we mirror the payments as if it's cash, and we call it cashless on delivery, right? So
Okay.
you don't break that concept of ordering online, but digitizing at point of payment. So with that, we have that solution now, right? So anybody who's interested in that, they can talk to their BPI reps, and we have that available. So order online, payment is cashless on delivery.
Cashless on delivery. Yeah.
Cashless on delivery. So we're enabling payment by direct debit to their BPI account. They can also authorize payment through their credit card or debit card. It's a mirror of bills being presented, and then the acceptance will be, I can scan, or in my mobile device, I can accept that the goods that I receive is good, and I can say yes, approve,
Let's pay.
and
All
pay.
right. Good. So riding on the psychology of the tamang duda, no?
Tamang duda and kaliwaan.
Kaliwaan. There's a question here. This is very important. I think everybody will be interested to hear your answer for this one. What are the added safety measures your bank implements that will prevent hacking of banking details of our customer online now that the hacking is more prevalent than before?
Yeah, before I answer that, I will repeat in one of the other sessions I spoke to.
Oops. Yeah. Noel? Yeah. Nag-lag si Noel. Is it Noel? All right. Partner, nawala si Noel.
Yeah. So,
okay. But I have a standard question for everyone, partner. Allow me for this one. This goes to all the panelists and speakers. In your industry, what is your industry experience on e-commerce adaptation or adoption of the C&D market? This is a very nice question. What is your experience with the e-commerce adaptation or adoption of the C&D market?
tama yan, partner.
Very
Kasi
nice.
for some of the markets, like yung minimension mo nga C&D, the migration might be a death sentence to them, di ba? So yeah, let's hear it from our panelists.
Let's start with Bea, ladies first. Bea, what's your experience with this? I don't know if this is even your target market, but what's your experience with the C&D market and e-commerce? Yes, yeah, Alan, okay. Yes, go ahead, Bea.
For us, we have Sunny's Face actually, which is a more affordable cosmetics line that we have, and the way we experience it online is that they're okay to pay for it, but it has to be COD.
All right, so it's a COD kind of thing. That's the adjustment. Ako, partner, if I may share my answer to this question, because like for the teacher's market, for my review, C and D yan eh. Yung nursing pwedeng B market, no? But you know what I did? Initially, I made a very low price and some couldn't still afford it. Then I made a mega installment plan, no? As in 500 per payday payment, and to some they cannot still afford. You know what I did yesterday? I launched the review now, pay later when you're able. Come on, if you're able to pay next year, pay me next year. The thing is, I want to serve you. I don't want to lose your dream. And this is goodwill. I'll be able to collect when they're able. So I don't know how it works. So what about the others? John Lu, what's your comment on that? Experience on the C and D market. This is at all your market.
I doubt whether we're at the C and D because we're already open near them. For the AB, the basket size is huge. It ranges between 900, 800, 600 to 3 to 4,000. It doesn't look like it's a C and D purchase. So too early to say, Carl.
Too early, yeah. That's also my thought. Too early. It's really agility that will make us adopt whether the market will shift as well, right? What about John Lo? Would you like to say something on this?
Yeah, but I mean, we don't really deal with that segment, particularly in the retail business, because we're more into like the commercial leasing and also the capital investments, capital markets. But from what we know, and I think it echoes what you've been doing, Dr. Carl, it's really more of like adopting a very flexible payment scheme for them, making sure that they do have the it's really quite affordable for them. It's not going to be heavy on their pockets because, as we know, they do have like a limited disposable income also. And definitely they're going to be the much more mindful ones with regard to how they spend and where they spend their money. And I think that's going to be the behavior for the C&D market, particularly in the retail side. So they'll be much more focused on the essentials. And at the same time, they're going to be much more budget conscious and going to be selective as to what they purchase, when they purchase, and how much they use to purchase these items.
Yeah, this is relevant, partner, to the rest of the panelists. Do you suggest that the new franchising businesses reduce their commercial space since it is expected that customers will be online and not inside the stores? That's a question from Don to Dong. Yeah, John Lu, as a professor, would you have an answer for this? Do you suggest that the new franchising business should reduce commercial spaces?
I don't think so. I really don't think so. First of all, our country is blessed with a tropical climate. That means to say that unless you have a beautiful home with air conditioning, you cannot enjoy comfort in your homes. So the malls will continue to attract business. And so for those who would like to get into a mall business, it should be serving those who go to the malls. Now, for those who want to serve people who don't go to the malls, probably they should just go online now.
Yeah,
because there's hindi na sulit mag-mall eh. You can buy a gadget online, I go to a mall. But many of them go to the mall to try the gadget and buy online.
All right.
That could be a problem.
Correct. Steve, what's your point? Reduction of the commercial space.
You know, in the coffee specialty business, our model is that coffee is really a beverage of comfort. No, people go out and they to relax, to socialize. So I think the Filipinos, or the human by nature, we're really social beings, right? We'd go out. It's not like, so if you look at it this way, in the US, we think Amazon is so big, but actually retail in the US, 20% is online. So 80% is still, you know, the traditional retail space. So maybe they'll go 40%, but you still have 60% that will still go out. So I don't think it's really gonna go away.
I want to get the answer of my partner because, you know, rice price in the mall. Yeah. What's your answer to this question? I'll put you on the spot again, partner.
Yes, I don't think so too. Because alam mo naman yan, partner, in all of the fora that I've been invited, no, I've been always sharing that although the migration to e-commerce is needed, should have been placed by every entrepreneur, by every brand, even before COVID. But the brick and mortar stores and the omni-channel experience of customers dictate that, and culturally also for Filipinos, dictate that we need to have that interaction physically. And I don't think
space is essential.
Yes, lowering the
size.
The space, it's case to case basis depending on the location and the cities, but I think there's no generic answer to that, partner.
So siguro ang dapat i-reduce hindi yung space, dapat yung rent. John Luke. Ano?
Ah.
Hindi, alam mo, ang problema lang talaga, siguro yung mga this time, and I'm sure Steve might, and John Lowe might echo my sentiment, as well as Noel and Bea were there, and then Cheryl and Carl. Siguro naman from now on, somebody will probably suggest to the mall developer to consider capacity. So if you look at a certain business district, what's the capacity that is really needed to supply the market? Eh kung may mall ka na dito, may mall ka pa doon, eh yung may mall doon, nagbukas pa ng isang mall sa likuran niya, tapos may mall sa tapat niya, tapos mayroon pang strip mall, may mga malalaki, may mga medium, may mga maliliit. And then the retailers are just changing their names, being there, and then masarap ang pansit dito, mas mura kasi parang pang CD, ang pansit doon, magandang kubyertos, pang AB, ang kape dito medyo malasa, pang AB, kape doon 3-in-1, pero pwede mag-upsize. So, parang it's
Matching,
sometimes they have to now talk to each other and say, let's not assure mutual destruction.
Correct.
In the next normal, if I may say so, they probably have to say, hey, let's talk about it. And, you know, limited resources na ngayon ang global environment.
Yeah.
So instead of patayan tayo doon, sharean na lang. And I'm sure the government will welcome because the same capital expenditure could be diverted to other sectors of the industry.
Correct. It's
Instead of
coopetition.
just retail.
Not anymore.
Excuse me.
It's really competition, how to cooperate as we compete.
Yeah.
No? Bea, would you like to say something on that, partner? Before my partner, Bea, would you like to say something about it, about the reduction of the commercial space?
I think actually our offline shops, they complement so much of the brand that we have. Our brand comes alive when you go into our shops. So I don't think there is a need for reduction, but I do agree that there should be a need for rental reduction. Our online and our offline actually really complement and make the brand so much stronger.
All right. Partner, you were saying something. Sorry to have cut you. Before my final two questions.
Yes, actually maganda yung shinare ng mga panelists natin eh. And your proposal for the lower rental rental reduction, because sabi nga ni Jalu, it is really, you know, cooperation, because the gospel today actually inspires us that we rise when we lift others, diba? Doc Carl. So we should move on together and heal as one, really.
John Lu kasi nabigay nga nilang libre for how many months? For 2 months? Maybe they can reconsider. I'm sure they will. With Mon Lopez and you know, Joey Concepcion bridging us, and the organizations like very powerfully PFA, PCCI. I think we're looking at that as in the near future. I have a question
Carl, don't forget. Huh? We're on rental reduction in the next 90 days.
Yes.
For the food, they're just looking at percentage of sales. That's all. And a little bit of CAMC. That's all. For 90 days. So limbo tayo. So everybody will assess. Those who don't want to continue, shut down. Those who can still continue, move forward.
All right.
Ganun sila.
Choice.
I think that's okay.
Janlo, nandiyan ka na rin lang. I'll ask this as a professor. Di ba?
Sure.
What analysis method can you use to effectively maximize profit? Would you recommend some analysis method? Or, of course, from our economist and our banker, do you propose any analysis method that can be used to effectively maximize profit?
Okay. I suggest everybody, small, medium, and large, I'm sure all of them do it. If you can do your profit and loss on a daily basis, kailangan alamin mo yon. First of all, if you went to some business education and accountancy, you know how to compute for your break-even sales. You should know your break-even sales. If you don't reach your break-even sales, then you have to do things to control your expenses, or you expand your sales, as they call it, your top line, in order to give you enough money to pay for people, rent, utilities, etc. So profit is equal to sales minus cost. Ganun lang, di ba? Profit is sales revenue minus cost or expenses.
And John
If you
Lou,
want the profit high, you keep sales high or you keep your cost low.
and John Lou, are you optimistic that we can make profit this year in
You know, I've
business?
said this in other fora. We are actually making profits if you get to operate in a mall.
Hmm.
In a mall, we used to hire 25 to 28 people. And I don't need to say, with a sales contribution or sales productivity of so much per employee. Right now, we are able to sell this much only with 3 people.
Okay.
And my productivity is double.
What happened
Can
to
you
the other?
imagine?
What happened to the other people?
No, kasi don't dine in eh.
Okay.
So bakery lang. So what I'm saying is that the moment the mall charges only percentage rent, it can apply to Bea, to me, and also to Cheryl, to Steve. Wow, how beautiful the world will be if we are at only 5% to contend with, di
Great.
ba, Carl?
That
So
is
we can still, and we're given now 2.5 months plus 3, a total of 5.5 months to recover now.
good.
I'm only saying this because I have been open since COVID, but others have not. So it's probably unfair for me to expect people to realize it. But you just look. Before, sales like that, people like that. Now, sales like that, but people like this now.
Okay.
And then wala pang big fixed cost. Wala pang minimum guarantee rent. That's the bonanza really. And you
Yes.
can make money really.
Steve, are you expecting to make profit this year?
You know what?
Any-
If you break even this year, that's a bonus. If
Okay.
you were able to minimize your losses, I think that's already a success.
Good.
Maybe making money is not going to be the battle cry. It's really just to survive for most of the businesses. John Lou is very lucky that he makes a profit in what,
It's a bakery, Steve.
yeah, it's bakery.
Bakery. Don't forget, we are unlike you.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
Diba? Bakery
so
kasi eh.
yeah. So, but you know what, Carl? The focus is on the malls, right? So if you look at our financial statements, generally for food businesses, a rental is around 10 to 15%. I mean, at 15 and above, maybe 20%, you're medyo tagilid ka na. So 10 to 15. Now it's only delivery and pickup. So then the aggregators get 25 to 30%. So if you add 10 to 15 plus 25, you have 40% already going to aggregators and malls. But fortunately for us, the malls got together and decided to help the tenants, right? And made it a 5% minimum rental rate, right? But I haven't seen that concerted effort from the aggregators if they're able to bring down the cost. Now, I talked to a friend of mine, and he said that aggregators don't make money even at 30%. And I don't know what the business model is, but okay, if they don't make money, then maybe just like the malls, they claim that they don't make money at 5%. Maybe just for this time that people really need each other's help and collaboration, they should also participate in that, right? They should as aggregators should participate in doing what the malls are doing as well. So I think that's a lot of restaurants outside of the malls can take 25-30% for a cut on delivery. So
Bea, yeah. Bea, you're opening tomorrow.
Yes,
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Would you make profit tomorrow?
Our main priority really right now is not even to make profit, but just to not lose anybody in our company. So it's just really to break even for the next 3 months.
All right. Noel?
Yeah. Carl, I just want to, no, there was a question earlier about security. I just want to assure everyone as we move into a more digitalized society that I think I'll be speaking on behalf of the financial industry that every organization, every institution is fortifying their security capabilities. No? And I can vouch that our organization is at the forefront of this. Right now, there are reports, there are cases wherein customers are claiming that there was some financial loss and so on. But this is what I call fraud. No, the customers are also a victim of revealing their credentials. No? So it's not about hacking. No, it's about being a victim of fraud that's being used right now by the perpetrators of this crime. And our NBI has been at actively pursuing these criminals as we speak.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I had final question, partner, because this has something to do with the first-time entrepreneur in a hyper-local market, most neighborhoods and nearby villages, and she needs our help. She's Rachel. Maybe we can help her. Is there a way I can filter through my transaction history to make managing my cash flow and checking whether a payment has pushed through easier? It's a little vague, but I think what she wants to understand is, like, is there a solution or technology that can make her manage cash flow? Anyone?
I think I'm the one who introduced earlier the hyper-local concept. Right. This is where I said that if you pursue such business, the current way of doing taking order via Viber and then sending the payment by taking a photo of your confirmation that the transfer has been made will not operate, will not work anymore, right? As you grow your business, you have to have the right platform to run it as a business, not as a sideline collection, right? So there are technologies, there are solutions out there. BPI has a capability to work with them to support such payment, such business.
Partner, may sharing ako tungkol dyan, no? Yung kasi doon sa question ng viewer natin. Because last month here, I'm based in Laguna, Doc Carl, di ba? Outside Manila. We started, I named the group Hyper Local Laguna Online Market. It's actually providing platform for our MSMEs here in the province so that we can exchange goods and we can, you know, reach others also, Lagunenses that can be part of the group. But our takeaway actually is that sinasabi nga ni Jano kanina, ni Noel actually, it doesn't have to be very expensive, the technology. So if you use the Facebook as your platform for selling your products, there are the platform, Facebook actually provides insights for your customer engagement there, especially if you use the boosting and the sponsored ads. Second also is that seeing this as a full-time thing for those who are starting as a first-time entrepreneur using online experience and going into your own local, hyper-local online markets is getting into a database, kahit Excel lang, and record it so that you can always go back to your basic data.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. May we have the final words of John Law, the younger John Law.
Yeah, sorry, is it the same topic, Carl?
Yeah? No, final message to
parting shots.
Parting shot, please.
I mean, it's been a very insightful afternoon. I know it's been a long session, but I hope everyone was able to learn a lot from the different speakers, part of the panel. And it was a really good exchange of ideas, best practices that we can all apply in our businesses. Like many of us, I think everyone is facing different challenges as retailers in different positions. But I think it's really adopting, I guess, a long review with regard to how we see our business. Because I mean, this pandemic is definitely impacting everyone in both social and economic realms. But I mean, it's gonna go away eventually. We just don't know when. So it's also best for us to always be positioned, remaining agile with regard to the new developments in the market. But right now, they just announced that it's going to be GCQ for Metro Manila. So for those of you that have prepared for that, then good for you, because now you know how to position yourself, how to open up, how to re-enter your product or service in the market, and having also that different strategies, like what John Lu said about like preparing for scenarios. So it's more of having that let's say wallet of different strategies that you would employ depending on the scenario, whether that's going to be a worst case scenario, whether that's going to be a best case scenario. At least it's important that everyone is prepared. And given the fluidity of the environment, it's really more of us being adaptable and agile to the ever-changing setting that we are currently in.
All right, Mr. John de los Reyes, thank you very much. May we have Noel Santiago, please?
Yeah, I just want to finish this with 3 points. The first is the market is ready. We have a lot of customers who are digitally enabled. Second, the technology is no longer a barrier to entry. And the last one is be discerning in choosing the right partner, especially for those first-timer that's going online.
All right, thank you very much. And Bea, your final shot, please.
I just want to say thank you to everybody. It was really nice to share experiences with everyone in the industry, and I had so many learnings from the different businesses that you guys have. I just want to again say that when you do go online, to not forget to be human and to always think about convenience, because right now in this pandemic, convenience will always trump the strongest brands.
Thank you very much. And Steve, thank you for the coffee. Yeah, and please, your final shot.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to thank PFA for this opportunity to share our stories and also to learn from each other. So I was inspired by what Cheryl shared kanina, the gospel. No? You rise when we lift others. So in this very noisy world right now, I recommend that you filter out the noise, choose the people you engage with, and always base your decisions on data and science, because a good decision comes from good information. And just to close this, I'd like to quote R.D. Gross, former CEO of Intel. He said that a bad company will be destroyed by big crisis, a good company will survive the crisis, and a great company will improve and be stronger by the crisis. And for me, a great company is grounded on values that never change. There are integrity, kindness, generosity, and genuine concern for its people. So I'd like to just wish everybody good luck, and let's just trust our faith that will push us through this. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. And for someone who admitted that he's senior, so you're the last, John Lu Kowa, please. Professor John Lu. Yeah.
Well, for me, keep your eyes and ears open every day. It's a day-to-day thing. Everybody will have to go through it. It's a day-to-day thing. It can be a supplier disruption. It can be a buyer disruption. It can be a governmental disruption. Day-to-day, keep your eyes and ears open. Plan day-to-day. Of course, you can have targets. And it's a whole new world, very exciting. I'm very, very excited to go back and open in the malls. We'll have all of the distancing, whatever, all the acrylic sheets all over the place. What is more important that we will have to do is let us not forget that the customers needed us for a purpose, a product, or a service. COVID or non-COVID, it should be the same, if not better. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John Lu Kowa. And partner, what's your final shot?
Yes, I'm very grateful for an afternoon full of wisdom from our panelists, our speakers. And, you know, at the end of the day, I'd like to remind everyone, why are we doing this? Why are we, you know, trying to learn, trying to cope up together? Is because we have an audience. As responsible adults and responsible entrepreneurs, we want to inspire our younger generation, our next generation, our children who are watching us, how to cope with this. And maybe let's really work on together to lower the stigma, because there should be really a long-term effect for the next generation for, you know, in coping this crisis. So again, reminding ourselves that we do this, our why is actually rising up by lifting others. Always believing, partner, yes, the Filipino brand can. This is Cheryl Ramos Quintana, President of the Philippine Franchise Association. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And as I raise my cup, which is half empty, I don't believe that this is half empty because this cup is half filled with coffee from Bo, and the other half is filled with air, something we cannot see, but something that makes the cup full. Thank you to all panelists today that indeed what is half full is also half empty, and what is half empty is also half full. But let me assure you of something. The coffee in this cup, whether it's only half full, is enough to give me the best smile. So let's not look at the new normal as a threatening normal. We have gone through this for weeks, and what used to be the new normal is now a better normal and the next normal. Until the 7th Ikapihan of the Philippine Franchise Association, this has been Dr. Carl Balita, and thank you to the panelists, to the speakers, to the reactor, and congratulations to the Philippine Franchise Association for once again having made this possible, one of the most relevant webinar sessions via Zoom, via virtual conference. Congratulations, and see you next time, because the ikapihan of the PFA is now part of the next normal. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless you all.
Thank you.